Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
Rashaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dream to do.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. One of the things I remember about spring is listening to my grandfather walk around and say, opening day, it's just around the corner. He used to think those were the two sweetest words you could say during springtime because he was a big baseball fan. And for most people, that's the case. It's one of the greatest American traditions each spring. But you know, there's another great American tradition that isn't far off, and that's called Tax Day. Well, opening day and Tax Day show up around the same time each year. We don't look at them in the same way. Well, you're optimistic about your favorite team. When's the last time you felt optimistic about stroking a big check to Uncle Sam? It doesn't have to be that way, and all you have to do is call Tom Fortino, the people at Alpha Wealth Group, who believe that baseball is a seasonal game, but tax planning goes on year-round. So if you don't want to write a big check in your retirement, and you don't want to have your Social Security or Medicare premiums affected by it, call Tom Fortino and the people at Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary retirement roadmap. Call them at 630-864-6711. That number again is 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. President Trump has done what 7 presidents before him would not. He demolished the leading state sponsor of terrorism's leadership, military, and nuclear abilities. For this alone, the Nobel Peace Prize seems not quite enough. We shall see if the temporary ceasefire holds. Perhaps it is a moment of calibration that may require further military action, as President Trump has shown his mettle in doing with Iran before. And for those who have chosen to ignore or forget Iran's 47-year war against the United States and the West, slaughtering and maiming untold thousands of Americans and other innocents, including assassination plots against the president, if Iran fully breaks this ceasefire, they will teach the world again who they are and what they do. Meanwhile, critics blame Donald Trump for his rhetoric. Of course, having said nothing about the routine calls for genocide from Iran's leadership, or, for that matter, hundreds of thousands who take to the streets shouting from the river to the sea. This is a moment to thank President Trump, not condemn him. I'm Seth Leibson.
Hey, business owners, is your business and money in good hands? Does your bank invest in your success? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that when you need a relationship bank, Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. I love these guys. Not only do they have expansive industry experience, a strong financial track record, but they're also highly capitalized for strategic growth. That's so important. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. They know what it means to grow a business by designing solutions that are right for you and only you. These are real people. They're ready to help. So reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Make the call today, 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Go online, signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank.
Scott Jennings fearlessly fights back against the mainstream media on the Scott Jennings podcast.
When Republicans have even a whiff of scandal, what do we hear? Resign, step down, zero tolerance. Where is the Democratic Party Where is the outrage? Where is the moral clarity? What do we hear from cable news? Nothing.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Need a little hope in your life? Listen to Truth for Life with Alistair Begg every weekday morning starting at 7:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect some rain in the morning, giving way to clouds clearing for a bit of sunshine, resulting in cooler temperatures with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Hard to close that door. Hard to close that Epstein door, isn't it? I'll tell you what, Melania Trump's remarkable press conference address yesterday about Epstein and what relationship she did not have with him and the things she did not know and the fabrications that have been told about her really speaks to how badly the Epstein matter has been handled over the last 16 months by the Trump administration. I know this is a topic we visited before, and guess what? We're visiting again as evidence of the veracity of what I'm saying. Whether everybody wants to move on or not, well, clearly that's not the case. Everybody doesn't want to move on. And so how you address things that are going to be addressed one way or the other. You are never going to be able to get away with the statement saying, we've done an exhaustive review and more or less there's nothing we can do and this is the end of it, we're all moving on. The Pam Bondi missive, which frankly was the beginning of the end of her relatively short tenure as Attorney General, wasn't it? Melania obviously felt maligned enough to offer what she did yesterday.
With the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania.
Always be closing, just like the Donald. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. When she talked about the email correspondence between her and Ghislaine Maxwell, she said trivial. I think she meant trivial. I'm not criticizing. She speaks more languages than I do, but that's what she was saying. It was trivial correspondence, this that came out in all of the document dumps. There was this email exchange between the two that was friendly, but not particularly substantive. And I think there was a reference to some piece in the New Yorker or New York Magazine about J.E. Jeffrey Epstein, I presume. But this was, without any foreknowledge of all of the nefarious, illegal, grotesque behavior the two were up to. And so she built from there and issued categorical denials and a call for the fabrications, the defamation of her good name to stop.
Had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation.
So no pool parties for her, no massages, no hanging out on the island, no circumnavigating the globe on the Lolita Express for Melania. Sort of interesting that she offered such commentary yesterday. I mean, maybe I'm just not attuned to it as others, so I'm happy to be informed on the topic. But it hasn't struck me that she is a central figure or that she's been particularly criticized for, aiding and abetting this operation or being willfully blind to what Epstein and Maxwell were up to and so forth. But she obviously felt compelled to do this. And, this is coming from First Lady of a president who told us all to move on from this months and months and months ago. Well, guess what? Your wife isn't ready to move on from it. And now part of it is perhaps because things have been ginned up, associated with the publicity of her book and the documentary. And so, as she was sort of referencing generally, you have people that traffic in the salacious and have political motivations, maybe financial motivations, to take shots at her. And so that's why she was moved to make the comments she did yesterday. And may not be over yet, because when the First Lady says something, the first husband is going to respond, as he did, backing her play. And maybe some members of Congress, too, given what she called for.
Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
And just when Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Les Wexner thought they were out of the woods, maybe. I mean, there have been press conferences. Obviously, Tom Massey and Ro Khanna, this tandem that's been pushing the Epstein matter, had press conferences with some of the alleged victims. Some of the alleged victims, have made public statements. Some have not. The record is a bit complicated, frankly. It's the thing that roils me about all this, and I've been saying it every time this subject pops up, and it won't go away, and this is my take on why it won't go away, is because you just haven't had the authorities, and the authorities now are the Trump administration and the Attorney General specifically. You just haven't had the authorities present a unified theory / explanation of what has happened over the last nearly 2 decades since Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender. From the local investigation in Palm Beach that ultimately led to his conviction, through the next 17 years or so. Give us the explanation as best as you can divine it from all of the information that you uniquely have, talking about the Department of Justice, of who did what, how this went on so long, who potentially has legal exposure or perhaps did before statutes of limitations ran. I mean, there's just never been a comprehensive explanation with the parties that have more knowledge than anybody else standing and delivering and taking questions and offering responses. And for as long as possible, these congressional hearings, the depositions, even behind closed doors, just not sufficient. There's just too much grandstanding. There are too many simpletons in Congress. They muddy the waters more than providing any additional clarity for the most part. I mean, it's fun to see Bill Clinton, waxing nostalgic when he's shown pictures of him gallivanting with young girls, but that's not the same thing as evidence if you're thinking about this in the terms of a criminal prosecution. Robert in Bloomingdale, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Yeah, Todd Blanche, who was the biggest cover-up clown after, what the hell was his name, Michael Cohen? This is the next clown. He knows all about this. He said it's not illegal to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Can he tell us if Melania partied with him? This is a clown show, my friend. Trump has all the evidence that the FBI to release it. Why doesn't Melania ask Trump to release all of the files? This is a clown show, and you're part of it. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Robert. Yep. It's a clown show on a lot of fronts, Robert. It sure is. And unfortunately, because of the way the Trump administration has handled this, all the clowns are out honking their horns and wearing their funny shoes and big red noses like Robert in Bloomingdale. And mishandling it allows for platforming of the sorts of nonsense, the sort of nonsense you just heard. And so it goes. All right. Moving on again for now. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Investigators are looking into a deadly house fire in northwest suburban Streamwood. That blaze started yesterday morning in the 100 block of Southwood Circle. First responders found 2 people in the residence. One of them was pronounced dead at the scene. The other was transported to an area hospital. That home sustained $250,000 in damage and was rendered uninhabitable. The feud over the leadership post in the Chicago City Council Zoning Committee is continuing. The panel will not be holding a meeting in April for the 3rd straight month. Interim zoning chairman Alderman Bennett Lawson says he'll continue to refuse to hold the session until aldermen select a permanent chair. That delay has caused a backlog of zoning proposals. Lawson says he and several allies plan to use a procedural maneuver next week to force a vote, which could deem him the permanent chair. This report is a service of Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? Well, with Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep. It's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Scott Jennings explains the huge difference between us and them.
F-15E fighter jet was shot down. Now, there were 2 pilots in the plane. Both were rescued alive. God bless the U.S. military. They showed the world the difference between us and them. We leave no one behind, while Iran spent the weekend hanging protesters in the streets.
The Scott Jennings Show, weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit access1inc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's access1inc.com. Tech made personal locally.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Get ready for the ultimate country music getaway. Country superstar Riley Green is performing live along with Chris Young, Lauren Elena, and Randy Houser on the second voyage of the Top Shelf Country Cruise. Sailing March 2027 aboard the Celebrity Summit, departing in Tampa with stops in Key West, Bimini, and Cozumel. Enjoy 7 days of entertainment brought to you by Signature Cruise Experiences. Open booking is finally here, so go to TopShelfCountryCruise.com now to book your cabin.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then they help you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect intermittent rain in the morning, giving way to some sunshine as clouds clear out later. It'll be cooler with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just postscript or two on the Melania address yesterday on Epstein. Text from 312. Here's the thing. This woman fights tooth and nail for children and loves all kids. For Democrats to slander her the way they have been, she should fight them. There are very nasty things from the left all over social media about her, of course. But then again, they thrive on degrading women that are classier than they can ever be. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, that's just, that comes with the territory of being the first lady, no matter how classy you are. And especially if you're the first lady of one Donald Trump. I mean, anybody in his orbit, anybody who has a kind word for him to say, even in passing, will be excoriated by the hysterical left and buffoons like Robert from Bloomingdale, who just completely ignores everything Melania said and calls, makes the conspiracy call in lieu of any actual evidence to support his claim or to refute those claims that Melania made in her statements yesterday. So you can believe simultaneously that the situation has been handled badly by the Trump administration, which I've articulated many times and again just a moment ago, and still not make wild accusations about criminal conduct where there is no evidentiary support for such claims. Those two things are not in conflict. And wanting full disclosure. I mean, just repeating, release all the documents and so on and so forth. I'm fine with it if there's some cache of documents that should otherwise be publicly available that doesn't have implications to do exactly what we're otherwise decrying is being done, which is defaming people. So there's that. And by the way, I don't want to hear, the Biden administration didn't do anything about this. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, the left are hit. The left, they didn't say anything about this for 4 years. Right. Yes, they're hypocrites. That's the resting position. The hypocrisy of the left is boundless. There's no question about it. But to combat the hypocrisy of the left, we need consistency on the right. So now when you're in charge, you need to demonstrate the difference between the two sides by living up to what you said you would do. And you know what? To the extent that you made big statements like Cash and Bondi and others did about what was going to be in those documents or what you would do if you were the Attorney General and Merrick Garland wasn't, and then you actually get your handle on all the information and you say, you know what, the things I thought were there aren't there. The cases I thought we could make out, I can't make out. Not with the evidence that we have in hand. This is what I'm saying, the unified theory of all that has transpired with as public an accounting as one can make responsibly and legally of the evidence you do have and taking questions. That's how it should have been handled from the beginning. Nick, Northwest Side.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to start the day with you, Dan. I'm currently going through a episode of my life with a evil woman who just spread a rumor in front of my girlfriend that I divorced my fifth wife. Which, that I did not do that. Now you would think it'd be something other topic or some other thing, but and then I hear from other people, about my wife and this and that, and I said, no, well, what about her? Well, did you stay with her or whatever? Yeah, I stayed with her till the end. She was sick for the last 13 years of our 26-year marriage. I worked at the time, but I still stayed with her, took care of her. And some people just are that way, you know what I mean? Some people are born nice people. Some people are born and are intelligent people, and some people are born, I really feel it's evil. You know, it's like, why is a rat or a roach a roach, you know? You know what I mean? And just try to deal with these people, you know, just keep the truth going out there. And, like Melania, she felt compelled she had to do this. Now, in her position, being the wife of the President of the United States, I'm sure she got the clear message out there that those things are not true. And what little bit was there is because everybody in different circles in New York society and all that knew each other, you know, a little bit. So, I wish her well. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that thanks. You're the victim of false rumors, Nick. But yeah, I mean that's right. There's people are instigators out there, and you don't have to be a public figure to be a target of misinformation because people have all kinds of agendas and so on and so forth. That's right. Which is why, as Melania said, don't believe everything you see. And Abraham Lincoln said it too. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Yeah, that was Lincoln, wasn't it? But that's why she's saying the stuff that's floating about. And I think she felt the need, speaking of people going on the record, which she called for Congress to allow Epstein victims to do. I think she felt the need to go on the record too and just clear the air. That's always, I'm always a proponent of that. You're never going to stop it. And she certainly realizes that. But you put a marker down that basically says, look, I'm not going to get beat up in a back alley. And I'm not going to spend my days responding to every crank online. But if you cross the line, then we will pursue you within our rights under the law. And otherwise, just from a public perspective, a reputational protection perspective, saying here's what it is. She spoke with moral clarity on this issue, and so if somebody has evidence to suggest anything she said, and she was, very specific, then present that evidence. And if you don't, if you just want to call their names or make wild assertions, well, go ahead. But then I think reasonable people will know who's on the level and who isn't. And that's a good approach. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. The Epstein saga has been going on for decades. And there's only two people that have been held accountable. Jeffrey Epstein, who's dead, and Giselle Maxwell, who's spending time in jail.
Yeah.
So how in the world can there only be two people held accountable for all these years of this activity? I find it hard to believe.
Well, so do a lot of people, myself included. Thanks for the call, Glenn. We've gone through this, and talked to a lot of people who follow this for most of the period of time in question. And, they're going after Randy Andy across the pond there, Prince Andrew. But if they had a case to make against some of the people's names who've been in circulation, like Bill Gates or Bill Clinton, others, you would think they would make them. So I don't know. I mean, the idea that it was just all this essentially trafficking of young women was just for Jeffrey and Ghislaine. Yeah, I find that totally implausible too. All the trips to the island was just Jeffrey and Ghislaine that were up to no good. I find that very, very difficult to believe. Which is why we're so frustrated, because it seems so implausible that you don't have this full accounting that I keep sawing sawdust over. Because I don't know what else to tell you. That's what's missing. So we can talk round and round and round about it, but that's what's missing. George in Naperville.
Dan, did you have your coffee this morning? We were all waiting for you to go full out Joe Pesci on Robert from Bloomingdale when he said you were part of the clown show.
No. He was not. He doesn't even rise to the level of Spider, George, such that I would need to do that. But thank you. Yeah. And he didn't say I'm funny. He said it so I could do the how am I funny. He did say I'm a clown. So you got to get the sequencing right there to make a Goodfellas reference. I think you would agree. Craig, Mount Greenwood.
And thank you much for taking my call. I got something important to take and mention on this subject. There's absolute proof based on what the Senate or the Congress and the Senate, whatever they did when Trump spoke at that Jan 6. Almost say, "Oh, that doesn't count. He doesn't get protection. He's not protected. It's not protected speech and all that stuff like that. So he's guilty of something." Okay, so you know what is guilty? What's guilty is all of the sexual escapades and all the extramarital sexual affairs and the rapes and all the things where people that are involved with these Congress people and representatives and all the other, they've got that account. It's all our tax money that gets spent on covering it up, hiding it, paying them off. All of that is legitimate. They've got that all legitimized. They are protected. You can't go after them. You can't do nothing about them. They're a bunch of sexual perverts. And this thing here with Epstein Island, there's so much guilt there with all kinds of stuff with up and down the scale with judges. Roberts was mentioning all that stuff and everything. They went into overdrive covering that up and everything. And they got all our tax money and all their rules that they make for themselves to protect themselves from all their garbage because they're sexual demon perverts. There's the answer to everything.
Okay, Craig. Well, they did this and they did that. This is where I always demand specifics about who the theys are exactly. The theys who did this and to whom they did it, and the conflating of a couple of issues. Raising the issue of congressional slush funds to settle sexual harassment suits, which has been raised before, and public disclosure of any such activity. I agree with that. Of course, all of that should be disclosed. And, things do come out in the wash. Just ask Anthony Gonzalez, the outgoing congressman, and there are many other examples of this. Less and less so these days because I think the character standard for being a public official has been diminished greatly over the last, say, 60 years, where, once upon a time, an extramarital affair would jeopardize your political career, unless it involves somebody who does harm to themselves or others, or something that is, over the top bizarre. I don't know, like Byron Nome in hot pants and prosthetic breasts. Then, these things the public sort of shrugs their shoulders about for the most part these days, don't they? So, again, to the extent that anybody thinks they have the answer that brings this all together, I mean, that's ridiculous. Even with the documents that have been released, even if you have pored over all of them, which I haven't, and I doubt very many people have. Text from 847. Why haven't the victims come forward to name names? Filed civil suits. They have. Well, this is the other thing that's so complicated about this, or unsettling, or unsatisfactory in terms of the response we've gotten, the explanation we've gotten. The Epstein estate has settled suits that civil suits that total upwards of, I think the FBI said, $200 million. So you have, nuisance suits, and you want to make them go away. I mean, that's a lot of money, and you really open the floodgates. So one would think that there were claims made that Epstein's lawyers believed could meet the preponderance of evidence standard for a civil court, and so they wrote checks instead. But that's a lot of smoke for there to be no fire, other than Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, very unsatisfying. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like if I need a replacement part?
Sure, we can help with that.
Ah, nice. Hey, I just entered this online contest for coolest bike in the world. You think maybe you could vote for me?
Actually, we just do insurance, not popularity contests.
Yeah, I know. But what's your email? I'll just send you the link real quick. You can vote like 100 times a day. They'll never know.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
So what I'm hearing is there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions.
Hi, everyone. Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis here from Legal Help Center. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up, because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. You can find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Vernon. You heard it, folks. If you've been injured, call and find out how much you qualify for. Call 800-541-5100. Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here, and just more detail. I was going from memory on the civil settlements with Epstein victims. So payouts, $290 million from J.P. Morgan Chase, $75 million from Deutsche Bank, $72.5 million Bank of America, and a $35 million settlement from the Epstein estate to settle a class action suit. That's a lot of money to pay out, like I said, where the allegation is, just smoke, no fire, except with respect to Epstein and Maxwell. So, there you have it. a funny email from our friend Greg in Schaumburg, just remembering false allegations, since that's part of the topic of conversation, given what Melania Trump had to say yesterday. Remember in the 1970s when Dan Quayle was accused of having an affair, and Marilyn Quayle responded, "Anyone who knows my husband, if it comes down to golf or a woman, he'll take golf every time." Right, of course. Well, who wouldn't? Precisely. That's a wife who knows her husband, and men in general. Okay, coming up at 6:06, we will turn our attention to other matters. Most specifically, the Dignidad Act. Nothing like an immigration bill sponsored by Republicans that has a Spanish title. What does that tell you? Well, it tells me that it's amnesty, but this is the argument that's going back and forth. Amnesty or not amnesty? The Dignidad Act at 6:06. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
There still aren't a lot of ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump demanded it be opened immediately when he agreed to a 2-week ceasefire with Iran, stopping the U.S. and Israeli attacks. He wrote on Truth Social last night,
Iran is doing a very poor job, dishonorable, some would say, of allowing oil to go through the Strait of Hormuz. That is not the agreement we have. With just 8 vessels reportedly passing through the strait in the first 48 hours of the ceasefire, a statement was released via state media from Iran's new supreme leader saying, quote, "And certainly we are entering a new era with management of the Strait of Hormuz. We did not and do not seek war, but we will not give up our rightful rights in any way."
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv also reports before U.S.-Iran talks tomorrow in Pakistan.
One issue that appears to be a sticking point is whether or not Israel will be able to strike Hezbollah, Iran's largest proxy base in Lebanon. Overnight, Israel struck launching positions in southern Lebanon, and shortly after, Hezbollah launched a rocket that triggered sirens in Tel Aviv.
Now, Israel is planning talks with Lebanon soon. A sheriff's deputy is dead in California, leaving behind a pregnant wife. Randy Hoppert was shot while serving an eviction notice to a man who opened fire and then got into a standoff with law enforcement.
We intentionally ran him over.
Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreau says a SWAT vehicle was driving toward the suspect who shot at them.
Don't shoot at cops. You shoot at cops, we're going to run you over. He got run over. He got what he deserved.
The Artemis II crew comes home tonight.
The Orion spacecraft will enter the Earth's atmosphere at approximately 25,000 miles per hour.
And it'll be like a fireball, but NASA's Amit Shatria says it'll be protected by a heat shield.
Our materials designed to withstand temperatures that approach the surface of the sun will bear the full force of that reentry.
Then as they get close to the Pacific, 11 parachutes will ease the spacecraft to a splashdown off the San Diego coast at 8:07 p.m. Eastern, ending a mission flying by the moon, traveling farther from Earth than any astronauts ever. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A federal appeals court has heard oral arguments as judges consider former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan's appeal of his conviction on 10 counts of public corruption. Jim Talamonte reports.
Madigan defense attorney Amy Saharia said the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals should reverse Madigan's conviction because counts related to ComEd were too vague and because the government failed to prove quid pro quo related to a state board seat. Assistant U.S. Attorney Julia Schwartz said the properly instructed jury had ample evidence to find Madigan guilty. Chicago attorney Sam Adams Jr. represented Rod Blagojevich during the former governor's first corruption trial. Adams said there's no set time for when the 3-judge panel would rule.
They could take 2 months. They could take 5 months. I believe in Blagojevich, when that was so long ago that we did. I think it took about 6 months for them to decide because they actually reversed a number of the counts there.
I'm Chip Talamonte.
Illinois House Republicans say they will not support any Chicago Bears stadium deal or mega projects legislation without statewide property tax relief. In a letter to Governor J.B. Pritzker and the General Assembly, the GOP state reps say they want property tax referendums to appear only on November ballots, and they want an end to backdoor referendums or bond rollovers that allow governments to raise taxes without asking voters. The Illinois House has unanimously passed legislation which requires shelters and rescues to provide transparency on where dogs available for adoption are sourced from. Protect Our Pets Illinois says House Bill 3648 will combat the practice of rescues purchasing dogs from out-of-state breeders or auctions before transporting them back to Illinois. News is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. See Marvin Products in their beautiful showroom at the corner of Lake and Gary in Roselle, or visit woodlandwindows.com for a free in-home expert consultation. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder thinks Newsom's resume doesn't look good.
And now there's this long article in the City Journal called Gavin Newsom's Empire of Fraud, and about the amount of fraud that's taken place during his watch. Estimated to be at least $180 billion, B as in bodacious. What was the Minnesota fraud? $9 billion?
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, folks. As we approach Liberty Island, you'll see the iconic Statue of Liberty, standing tall at over 300 feet. The torch in her hand symbolizes a beacon of hope that's held up by her very wavy arm.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay, or avastin-capsid pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. It's proven to slow GA progression and could preserve your remaining vision for longer, so you can keep seeing the world around you. Don't take Izervay if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't wait for your vision changes to progress. Ask your retina specialist about Izervay today. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, most of us spend our entire lives in the paycheck mode. You work, you get 30% taken from the G, you pay your bills, repeat and rinse. And that's how time goes by. Then all of a sudden you're old. Retirement hits. Suddenly, you're the one who has to figure out your paycheck that isn't there anymore. Markets are bumpy, prices are up, things can get stressful real fast. That's why having a real income plan matters. Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group can help you build a strategy to turn your hard-earned savings into a reliable retirement income. They coordinate with your Social Security and your tax planning so you can stop wondering if you're withdrawing the right amount at the right time. Tom Fortino and the people of Alpha Wealth Group have been doing this for 30 years. They can help you by giving you a complimentary retirement roadmap. And all you have to do is call 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We're looking at 15 minutes both ways at the Edens this morning from Lake Cook to Montrose. Just 19 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 24. Just a little bit slow inbound on the express lanes between Chicago Avenue and Ohio Street. You've got 14 minutes in both directions on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. 25 in, 24 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. 16 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12, a little bit slow in the express lanes. It's slow but moving between 35th Street and the Stevenson, and it's sluggish inbound on the Bishop Ford between 115th Street and the Dan Ryan. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect some rain in the morning, giving way to clouds, clearing for a bit of sunshine, resulting in cooler temperatures with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So a group of about 20 House Republicans has come together to push the Dignidad Act, the Dignity Act. They're being led by former Telemundo anchor turned congresswoman from Florida, Maria Salazar. She's a Republican. Being pushed by Republicans. The question is the Dignidad Act, which provides for, say it with me, people in this country illegally who've been here for more than 5 years and who are otherwise abiding the law and being productive to come out of the shadows and fear not their legal status in this country. Amnesty? You call that amnesty? 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Here is Representative Salazar making a case.
We give them dignity. At some point in the future, another legislator will write another law to give them path to citizenship. Right now, what we need to do is to buy peace for these people, allow them to stay, to continue working, because they are needed. You see, what I'm trying to do is to bring some common sense, which is the least common of all senses, to this conversation. The economy needs them. They do not have a criminal record. They have not gone into trouble. They have been here for a long time. They have roots in the country. Let them stay. Don't give them any type of federal programs. And allow them to pay taxes, help the Social Security Fund, and let them stay and contribute with the economy with no criminal record. What is wrong with that? We need them.
What is wrong with that? We need them. You're not going to deport all 12, 15, 20, 30 million people. Who knows what the number is in this country illegally. You got to prioritize. I agree with that. You definitely have to prioritize people that pose public safety, public health, national security threats, which is what the administration has been doing. But people who have otherwise demonstrated over a period of time greater than 5 years that they're here to be productive. We've got low unemployment. We need them. What's wrong with a little dignity? 312-642-5600. Laura Ingraham and New York Representative Mike Lawler, Republican, one of the 20 that has signed on to the Salazar bill, had a back and forth on her program about some of the particulars, including just how much latitude there is to include people who may not quite have as pristine a record as Salazar described.
The bottom line of the Dignity Act is very straightforward. You have to be in the country for more than 5 years. You cannot have committed a crime. You cannot collect government benefits.
Okay, that's false.
You have to pay a fine. You must pay back taxes. It's not false, Laura. You must pay back taxes.
All right, Congressman,
and you must be employed.
Okay.
Those are the terms.
Here's
Those are
the truth.
the terms.
Congressman, you know how much I like you. But you can't come on this show and say to my audience that you can't have committed a crime to be eligible under the, quote, Dignity Act, because there are several crimes that are, quote, nonviolent that do not qualify for inadmissibility. And on top of that, there are multiple instances, including family unity, public interest, and just discretion on the part of immigration officers. I can't imagine Democrat immigration officers under a Democrat president in the future was going to hold this strict, we're not going to let any criminals in. Gang member affiliation
no, what they're
is
going
given
to do,
wide
Laura,
latitude.
what they're going to do, yeah. What the Democrats will do if they get complete control of Congress and the White House, they're going to end the filibuster, and they are going to pass a blanket amnesty bill. That's the fundamental challenge here.
Well, it sounds like you all are in the business of passing a blanket amnesty bill pathway to citizenship, because that's what Maria Salazar just said. We're only doing this. Someone else will come along later to do the rest of it, the path to citizenship piece. So this is teeing up the ultimate play that I thought was the province of the left, the open borders crowd. And not to mention the timing of this. The other side is talking about abolishing ICE. They shut down DHS over funding of ICE. I mean, they routinely demonize those who enforce federal immigration law because somebody's got to do it, and it's not going to be Congress. They're completely unserious about anything other than open borders. And now you're going to, try to forge common ground? Here we go again. Because this is just common sense? Is that common sense? To negotiate against yourself? You're just going to excuse the position of the other side, and not just excuse it, and then facilitate their ultimate end. You're just going to go at a slower pace than they would go. And you think that's commonsensical? As I said many times on the show, I'm pro-immigration, more so than many, pro-legal immigration. And I'm open-minded on topics like legal guest worker programs. But I'm not open-minded on anything with that party, with the posture they have taken on this issue at present. Nothing. We're not having a conversation. I'm not having a conversation with somebody that says abolish ICE about middle ground. There is no middle ground. And there's no common ground either. And there's no, pick your aphorism or metaphor of choice. No. We're going to argue about this. We're going to run on this issue, and then we're going to vote our shares. That's what you need to do with a party, with a neo-Marxist revolutionary party that seeks to remake America. It's a revolution against the founding principles of this nation. That's that party. So I'm going to facilitate their revolution? No. 312-642-5600. And they're arguing, too, that this is not an amnesty bill. I'm talking about the Mike Lawlers and the Maria Salazars of the world. Brandon Gale disagrees. Representative from Texas.
This is an amnesty bill, plain and simple. Just ask yourself, what does the bill do? The day of this bill, if this bill is enacted, the day it's enacted, what happens? 12 million, roughly 12 million illegal aliens who are in the country are given legal status. If that's not amnesty, I don't know what is. And you can use whatever kind of, vague generalizations or semantic obfuscation you want. But that's amnesty. And that's exactly what the American people do not want. That's why they gave Republicans a trifecta. It's why President Trump got the popular vote last election. So for us to do this, which we're not, by the way, I'm going to make sure that we don't. But if we went down this road, it would constitute the biggest political betrayal of the American people in history. I think it would rip apart the Republican Party, and candidly, we would deserve to see our party ripped apart if we went forward with this bill.
To Brandon Gale's point, Title I of Division B of the legislation would provide amnesty and a pathway to citizenship for an estimated 2.5 to 2.7 million illegal aliens that are termed dreamers, forgiving illegal entry and even allowing Homeland Security to waive inadmissibility for multiple other crimes, including crimes of moral turpitude, controlled substance crimes, and prostitution. That's what I was saying, and that's what I think Laura Ingraham was getting to, however inartfully, when she was saying that there are crimes that you could have committed that the DHS can waive and allow you to participate in this program regardless. Crimes of moral turpitude, these could be fraud-related, theft, forgery, embezzlement, perjury. Also, too, you could have gangbangers here as well. And the way that this works in the legislation is you could be, for example, in a gang database. The Chicago gang unit has you in a database that you're, say, a Latin king. So that's not dispositive of the issue of whether or not you are a gangbanger, and a DHS employee, whoever is charged with vetting and reviewing, could ultimately decide that doesn't rise to the level of disqualifying you from this program, this amnesty. And then there's just a practical thing. You're talking about 12 million people, roughly, maybe a little bit more, who would potentially qualify for amnesty under this legislation. That's a lot of records to review. And, with all due respect, I don't think the federal government's track record is confidence-inspiring when it comes to vetting people. So that's one provision. Title III of Division B is where you get the other $10.5 million that Brandon Gill was referencing. This would provide a renewable 7-year grant of deferred action. This group does not have a direct path to citizenship laid out in the bill, but that's where Maria Salazar said that'll be for somebody else to do down the road. She literally said future legislation would provide such a path if this dignity status was granted, the 7-year grant of deferred action if you've been here for more than 5 years, and if you haven't committed any other crimes other than coming here illegally, except there are some exceptions to that, and then you pay a fine and so forth. Okay. Brian in Western Springs.
Good morning, Dan. Just sold my home, closed in June, moving to Long Beach, Indiana. But aside of that, Social Security essentially is a Ponzi scheme. So for these folks who have come here illegally, for the ones who will qualify for Social Security, they're going to take out from the government more than they gave. So that further makes it more insolvent. Secondly, the folks who are not contributing to payroll taxes, as they age, we can't allow them to live in squalor, nor would we. So somehow the government is going to be essentially paying for all these folks in their later years at the cost of Americans who've been here our whole life and are going to be hard-pressed to get what we deserve from Social Security to begin with because it's been so mismanaged. So it just makes a big problem worse.
Thanks for the call, Brian. Good luck in Long Beach. That's still within the Chicago DMA, so keep listening. Paul and Carrie.
Hey, Dan, you just touched on that one crucial point. In fact, who in fact decides the vetting process? Gee, I wonder if any Democrats would be involved in that. Further, let me add this. I wonder if they would have so much empathy for all these people that just want to eat. They just want food. If you rescind any type of recidivism to any other countries, they cannot never vote, and they cannot receive any type of entitlements. Would you still be on board with this? Would these people still be on board? If it's just about feeding these poor people, how would you be on board with any of those then?
Thanks for the call, Paul. So that's the other provision, I guess, that they would eschew any welfare benefits, any transfer payments. But again, what are we talking about right now? We have a national benefits fraud task force that is being headed up by the vice president. We have a director of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid suggesting that you could double the life expectancy of the Medicare trust fund, quote unquote, just by eliminating the projected levels of fraud in that Medicare, the frauding of Medicare. And this doesn't get to Medicaid, combined state. So, with all due respect, it's an interesting vision, the vetting to make sure that people are productive and they're not, there's no criminal background other than coming here illegally. It's just sort of an odd way to say I've never been convicted of I've never committed a crime other than the one I committed. So you have committed a crime. Okay. So on the vetting that Homeland Security would do, on the oversight of, multi-trillion-dollar entitlement programs that the federal government, and we have a federal government track record on that. And you're going to assure me that none of these individuals would benefit from all of the complacency, incompetence, skullduggery endemic to those programs or processes. Yeah, I find that very difficult to believe. Doug in Oswego.
Yeah, so you steal a pack of gum every day from the convenience store, but after 5 years, now the store has to hand you that pack of gum every day. That's it.
Thanks, Doug. Tony, Downers Grove.
Dan, yep, Reagan 2.0. They should just call that the bill. Here's my question. Does this thing have any chance of even making it to the floor? B, is she up for re-election because she should be voted out? And C, who gives this arbitrary time frame all the time? 4 years, 5 years. Well, who makes this up? Let's just make it 1 year, okay? Because they're contributing to society. And the reason this is happening is because Republicans are spineless, and they don't want to put a real immigration bill up for a vote. So she comes up with this, and that's why you have this. She illustrates that they are spineless.
Thanks for the call. Well, not all of them. You heard from Brandon Gill. He's a House Republican, too. You'll hear from Senator Mike Lee. He's a Senate Republican.
Amnesty is still amnesty, even if you call it dignity, and even if you make people pay a fine. So, look, if you want to push amnesty, go right ahead. I strongly disagree with that. But don't tell us that it's not amnesty, because that's exactly what it is.
Chip Roy is a House Republican on his way out, but he's still a House Republican, and he has sponsored the so-called Pause Act.
We have 51.5 million people in this country who are foreign born. That's about 16% of the population. That's higher than at any other point in our history. So go back to 1920, where we had maybe a similar percentage. It was about 15%. And we had a whole bunch of people who'd come here who, by the way, were more interested in assimilating, who were participating in schools that actually taught that America's great, and when we had no social welfare state. Today, we have millions of people who've come here who don't want to assimilate, who aren't in schools teaching that America's great, and they are on the social welfare state. We need to pause immigration. We need to fix our system. We need to end diversity visas, end chain migration, the kind of people that allow their cousins and uncles and aunts to come in. We need to stop the abuse of H-1B visas. We need to end birthright citizenship. We need to codify what the president has done. We need to stop having taxpayer funding of illegal alien children in our schools, as we do in Texas and everywhere else. And we've got to recenter our entire immigration system. So pause and let's fix it.
So the answer to Tony's question, does this have any chance of moving? I think the answer is a resounding no. That's the good news. But there's always this element of surrenderism in Republican caucuses, and not exclusive to the House, the Senate too. I think the leadership in the House is much stronger, but there's always that element. People that get, I don't know, they see this all the time. This is why the Illinois Republican Party ceased to exist, because that element got to leadership and the entire caucus was poisoned, destroyed from within, and shrunk very quickly, didn't it? But it's the, I want to be in good standing with the press corps that hates me. I want to be a properly housebroken Republican that, that does my business outside, that, steps and fetches when I'm told to step and fetch. There's that. There's sort of this, this is the way that we appeal to Latino voters, for example. That play. There's the pandering play, the identitarian politics, frankly, of the so-called right, which is also people that are being wooed by a siren song But no, I don't think it's going anywhere. By the way, Maria Salazar, of course, is up for re-election. She's a House member, so every 2 years. And despite what you heard from Brandon Gill and Chip Roy, the Texas Restaurant Association, they're on board with this. About 30% of the industry are immigrant workers, and even more of those are business owners that are immigrant workers. And so those things are really impacting our local industry, which we know is a huge driver of both tourism and our economic drivers here in Austin. Executive Director of Good Work Austin. National restaurant leaders are joining business groups to support the Dignity Act. Of course, there's co-sponsors on the other side, including Veronica Escobar, who's a Democrat from El Paso. We know if we can continue to build the overwhelming support for this bill, the president will absolutely want to solve this problem with us. I doubt it. Oh, he wants to solve the problem, but he's not going to be on board with you because you're not solving the problem. Ken in Plainfield.
Yeah, I always get a kick out of they say they're going to pay back fines and back taxes. What are they going to base that on? You have people that lied to get into the country or, just illegally came here. What are they going to say? Oh, I worked minimum wage for the past 5-10 years. Where are they going to get the money to even pay the fine? I don't know about you, but I couldn't pay 5 years of back taxes right away. So I just don't believe the whole we're going to get money out of them for them being here illegally. It's a bunch of BS.
Thanks for the call, Ken. That's a good point. The other thing, too, and this was part of the exchange between Ingram and Lawler on her program, we'll use E-Verify. This is another one of these checks that will be done. We're going to use E-Verify to substantiate their work history, in terms of qualifying for the dignity waiver, amnesty. So wait a second. So you're not requiring, or it's not working, employers to use E-Verify so they don't hire illegals, but you're going to use E-Verify to establish the work record of someone here illegally for the purpose of providing them amnesty. Okay. Wait, I got a headache actually trying to work the logic of that. Mark in Oak Lawn.
Hey Dan, thanks for taking my call. I just can't get over the immigration deal. It's all about votes, and these people that they think, well, we got to help all these people because we're humanitarians, and it just doesn't make any sense, Dan. It's I think is it a lot of females? It's just
Not exclusively.
You talk about.
Thanks for the call, Mark. It's a lot of sentimentality. By the way, the 5 year. I think Tony from Downers Grove raised the 5 year thing. What they're doing with the 5 year thing. The Republicans, they're saying you have to. You couldn't come in under open borders and Joe Biden. So we're not allowing the recent arrivals that were invited to come here illegally by the Biden administration. You have to be here at least 5 years. So you have had to come before Joe Biden was president. That's why they came up with 5 years. Bob, Naperville.
Yeah, I'm just going back to the Laura Ingraham, Mike Lawler tape that you played. And I thought Laura was going to, when she started to interrupt Mike, I thought she was going to go right to the point how, as long as they haven't broken a law. They all broke a law to come into the country. So there's 20 Republicans supporting this, and it is really, really frustrating. But I thought Laura could have handled it. I mean, she did a pretty good job, let's face it. But the fact she didn't leave to point out that they've already broken a law, so what the hell are you talking about? Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, and as to dignidad, if you will, Brandon Gill.
Of course. The people who are actually living in fear are the Americans who are sending their kids to schools that are flooded by fentanyl because of our open borders and because of what illegal aliens have done. The people who are living in fear are the Americans who can't put food on the table because their wages have been suppressed because of illegal aliens who are in this country or who have lost their jobs altogether. And those are the people that we ought to be looking out for. Those are the Americans that we represent. We don't represent illegal aliens. We represent American citizens. Those are the people whose interests we should be pursuing, not amnesty bills like this. Illegal aliens are not in the shadows. They're right out in the open. They're transforming our communities, tearing our social fabric apart, and absolutely undermining the economic independence of American citizens.
Well, Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Dalton's interim fire chief will be taking a voluntary leave. Mayor Jason House announced Chief Quentin Q. Curtis will be stepping back following claims that he lacked adequate training for the job. Members of the union supporting firefighters rallied on Monday outside of the Village Hall asking for Curtis to be removed from the position, while Curtis defended himself at a board meeting on Monday evening. House made the announcement in a letter to residents noting that Curtis's leave did not diminish his 40 years of public service. One person is dead after an officer-involved shooting in North Suburban Highwood. The Lake County Sheriff's Office says Highwood police officers responded to a home in the 200 block of Morgan Place for a well-being check. The caller reported the man's ex-girlfriend was inside the home with him, and the man had locked himself inside a bathroom. He later exited the bathroom and pointed what is believed to be a replica pistol at the officers. One officer shot the man, who was pronounced dead at the hospital. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home or business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
We have to find the handful of issues that all Republicans agree to, remembering I only have a 1-vote margin right now, so I have to get unanimity. But I'm convinced we can get a lot of this done and keep moving forward for the agenda.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
When your money gets tight, you have to make some tough choices. Do you pay the mortgage, pay the credit cards, or pay the IRS? For lots of people, taxes get pushed aside until the letters start, then the threats, then the action, bank levies, wage garnishments. You can stop worrying. The IRS is offering new opportunities to help you resolve your back taxes, and Guardian Tax knows how it all works. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, you may qualify to reduce your total tax debt by a very significant amount, even if you're years behind on filing. But timing matters, and so does who you trust. Guardian Tax knows the system and how to work it in your favor. They step in, deal with the IRS directly, and fight to protect what you've worked so hard to earn. In today's economy, you can't afford to lose more. Call Guardian Tax now for a free confidential consultation. 800-404-6851. 800-404-6851. Don't wait for the IRS to make the next move. Make yours first. Call now. 800-404-6851.
If you've saved $100,000 or more for retirement, call Steve Shyman today at 833-945-7283. That's 833-WILL-SAVE. 833-WILL-SAVE. Schedule your no-cost, no-obligation retirement review and make sure your plan is built to protect what you've worked so hard to earn. And don't forget to listen to Steve's show, Protecting Your Assets, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. right here on AM 560. Call now, 833-945-7283.
All right, folks. As we approach Liberty Island, you'll see the iconic Statue of Liberty, standing tall at over 300 feet. The torch in her hand symbolizes a beacon of hope that's held up by her very wavy arm.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. It's proven to slow GA progression and could preserve your remaining vision for longer, so you can keep seeing the world around you. Don't take Izervay if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't wait for your vision changes to progress. Ask your retina specialist about Izervay today. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The Danielle Gill Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Actually lowering prices has rarely ever been an accomplishment a Democrat could even claim. The Democrat modus operandi is to use each crisis as an excuse to pass legislation which increases spending, gives more power to the government, and which will make new crises which they can't then use as an excuse to pass more horrible legislation.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then they help you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Loaded up right now on Lakeshore Drive on the northbound side into Foster Avenue, all because of a collision. It takes out the right lane, so watch out for slowdowns and delays. We're still in great shape, though, on the Edens. It's 15 minutes both ways from Lake Hook to Montrose, 19 in, 22 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Bird Interchange. You've got 15 minutes in both directions on the Ike from Wolf to the O Post Office, 26 in, 22 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. The Dan Ryan is 17 minutes inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11, slow but moving in the inbound express lanes between Pershing Road and the Stevenson. This report is a service of Capital One. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase with the Capital One Venture X business card. Big purchasing power means you can spend more and earn more. The Capital One Venture X business card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect intermittent rain in the morning, giving way to some sunshine as clouds clear out later. It'll be cooler with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Leah Gazan is a member of Parliament up there in Strange Brewland. Member of Parliament for the New Democrat Party. And she is fairly perturbed at one Prime Minister, Mark Carney, for the lack of budgeting dollars to combat an ongoing genocide in Canada. Maybe this is why he can't focus on the imperatives in Iran, is because he's got this ongoing genocide at home, does the Prime Minister. At least according to Miss Gazan, who offer this commentary. And you're never going to hear someone who is more conversant in identitarian acronyms than Leah Gazan. It's impressive.
When the budget was released, I was shocked to find out that Prime Minister Carney is cutting $7 billion between Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations. They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW, G2S, LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent. This is callous. This is callous because the very Liberal government that has stripped organizations of life-sustaining funding has now committed $13 billion. $13 billion on military spending. Who is paying for it? Indigenous women across this country, Indigenous women, girls to us, LGBTQIA+, are not safe. In fact, rates of violence are increasing. And what is the Prime Minister doing? He is turning a blind eye on this violence.
Turning a blind eye to the violence against MMIWG2S LGBTQIA+ individuals, and that's not acceptable. I assume that everybody knows what that means. I mean, what that acronym stands for. I assume you're enlightened enough to be following this genocide of the MMIWG2S LGBTQIA+ community. That's for those of you living in a cave Of course, this is the missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual plus community. That's what I'm talking about. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the MMIWG2S LGBTQIA plus community. The missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual people. Have you thought about them lately? Why not? A related story. It wasn't just the fun of that riff you just heard. An actual substantive related story that I'm sure will not be received well by Miss Gazan comes to us from the Finns. Finland tracked every gender-referred adolescent in the country for up to 25 years. Their psychiatric needs didn't improve after quote-unquote gender reassignment. They surged. Their psychiatric needs surged. This is a landmark peer-reviewed study that just came out this week. 25 years. Every gender-referred adolescent in the country for transing for up to 25 years. And, the credentials are all here. It's in a journal called Acta Pediatrica. So, some pediatric medical journal in Finland. Finland centralizes all gender identity assignments to 2 university hospitals. Because a health register reporting is mandatory and patients cannot opt out, the data set captured the complete fate of every gender-referred adolescent in the country from 1996 to 2019. And boy, that doesn't even include, this surge over the last 7 years. The cohort is of more than 2,000 individuals, 2,083 to be specific, who compared against 16,643 matched population controls. This is not a small study with convenient dropouts. It's the full national picture, as a writer named Kurt Malberg reports. Among those who underwent medical gender reassignment, quote unquote, the increase was stark. Feminizing procedures, psychiatric morbidity rose from 9.8% to 60.7%, going from male to, quote unquote, female. Masculinizing procedures, going from male to quote unquote female. Psychiatric morbidity rose from 21.6% to 54.5%. To say the procedures did not resolve the distress the individual was under is an understatement, isn't it? All this, I'd rather have a live daughter than a dead son business, seems to be quite the opposite. After adjusting for prior psychiatric history, all gender-referred adolescents, whether or not they had undergone the procedures, faced similarly elevated ongoing risk, approximately 5 times higher than the male controls, 3 times higher than the female control subjects. The authors noted plainly, in some individuals, the medical procedures, quote, appear to be linked to deterioration in mental health, unquote. That's the lead clinician of Finland's National Gender Clinic saying that. The medical procedures, quote, appear to be linked to deterioration in mental health, unquote. Yes. And then many of them went on to be members of the Canadian Parliament, apparently. The study found that those referred after 2010, when Finland saw a 10-fold referral surge, arrived with far greater pre-existing psychiatric needs. Nearly 50%, 47.9%, had already required specialist psychiatric treatment before their first clinic contact. Right, because a gender dysphoria is a mental health condition. I forgot about that. By comparison, the control population, the figure of psychiatric treatment before first clinic contact, 15%. So 3x. those who are gender dysphoric. The author suggests the pattern may indicate that for some adolescents, mental health difficulties are presenting as concerns about gender identity, not the reverse. The study's conclusion, quote, listen up, this won't be shocking to most people who listen to this show, but it will be shocking to our larger culture. It will be repudiated by the mavens of our larger culture. Quote, study's conclusion, psychiatric needs do not subside after medical gender reassignment. You're not improving your kid's mental health. In fact, it's exponentially more likely that you're harming your kid's mental health. As Kurt Malberg writes, this finding, psychiatric needs do not subside after medical gender reassignment. This is the finding the gender medicine movement has staked its entire ethical claim on. It's false. And these are not the only actual scientists, medical professionals who are going where the evidence leads. In Australia, 2 clinicians who raised these exact concerns faced regulatory actions. One was, kicked out of the medical association. The other was suspended and then fired from the hospital in which she worked. 312-642-5600. I mean, this is, important because these individuals are used as mascots by the identitarian left, as you just heard from that member of Parliament, Canadian Parliament. And if you really were concerned about young people's mental health and this, particular relatively small cohort, but it doesn't matter that it's small. If you were concerned about young people's mental health, then you would go where the science leads, wouldn't you? All these men and women of science, on again, off again, I know, depending on the politics. Because you're harming. I know it's going to be very tough because parents who have been conned by these identitarian frauds, how do they bring themselves to admit they harm their kids, or they're in the process of harming their kids, or they're thinking about harming their kids, not intentionally, but because they've been conned? How do they come to terms with that? Well, I would say it's better to come to terms with it than to harm your kids, don't you think? The evidence is in. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. One of the things I remember about spring is listening to my grandfather walk around and say, opening day, it's just around the corner. He used to think those were the 2 sweetest words you could say during springtime because he was a big baseball fan. And for most people, that's the case. It's one of the greatest American traditions each spring. But there's another great American tradition that isn't far off, and that's called Tax Day. Well, opening day and Tax Day show up around the same time each year. We don't look at them in the same way. Well, you're optimistic about your favorite team. When's the last time you felt optimistic about stroking a big check to Uncle Sam? It doesn't have to be that way, and all you have to do is call Tom Fortino, the people at Alpha Wealth Group, who believe that baseball is a seasonal game, but tax planning goes on year-round. So if you don't want to write a big check in your retirement, and you don't want to have your Social Security or Medicare premiums affected by it, call Tom Fortino and the people at Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary retirement roadmap. Call them at 630-864-6711. That number again is 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
Hey, business owners, is your business and money in good hands? Does your bank invest in your success? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that when you need a relationship bank, Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. I love these guys. Not only do they have expansive industry experience, a strong financial track record, but they're also highly capitalized for strategic growth. That's so important. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. They know what it means to grow a business by designing solutions that are right for you and only you. These are real people. They're ready to help. So reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Make the call today, 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Go online, signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here. Okay, how about a happy story? I have a happy story on a Friday. Tell you about Dan Simpson of Boise, Idaho. Domino's Dan. You know, I learned as a kid, a little hustle goes a long way. Making an extra effort can have real payoffs. And here's a testimonial. 68-year-old Dan Simpson of Boise, Idaho, who has a side hustle, can't retire quite yet. Side hustle, he's a Domino's delivery driver. And he went to make a delivery to a house. The delivery was caught on the resident's Ring camera. And this is what Domino Dan did for this customer.
The voicemail just popped up. I didn't see a phone call. I'm sorry,
okay,
sorry
because we had a Diet Coke.
Oh, okay.
I stopped at the store, though. So.
Oh, you did not have to do that.
Oh, that's okay.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, man. Hold on now.
Well,
do you have a way I can add more to your tip? Because you deserve more than that. I don't have any cash on me, is my problem.
Oh, don't worry about it. That's fine. $6.60, that's a good tip.
No.
The store's right next to us, you know.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, that's okay.
If I call into the store, can they take more on that tip? I wish I had cash for you.
Oh, you don't need to.
Oh.
That's a good tip.
All right. What's
And
your
I'll
name?
reimburse. Mine's Dan.
Dan, I'm Brian. I appreciate you. You're at that store up on Maple Grove?
Yeah. Call him and tell him that Dan. He's a great driver.
I'm going to, Dan.
I've worked
I appreciate you very much.
14 years I've worked there. I'm retiring in 26 days.
26 days to retirement. So the customer, Brian Wilson, not the Beach Boy, posted this incident to GoFundMe. Dan stopped at the store. Domino's was out of Diet Coke. Dan stopped at the store to pick up Diet Coke for us on a busy Friday night during deliveries, completely out of his own time and effort, and made mention of what you just heard, that he's been working Domino's as a second job for 14 years, and he's retiring in a few weeks. So how about we do something nice for Dan in addition to what I'm going to do for him? And so far, the GoFundMe has raised $134,000 for Dan Simpson, the Domino's delivery driver.
And I've always tried to work hard and go the extra mile on stuff, and I guess maybe I'm getting rewarded for that. I don't know. I don't think I work any harder than anyone else. You know, I've always tried to be a pretty nice guy and help people out when they're... Because I know what it's like to be down and out. So when I see people that are kind of hurting, I try to help them. It's all just... I just can't believe it. Knowing that I work at the seed lab, there's about 6 of us work at the seed lab, and they're all flabbergasted. They tell me all these stories. They told me about this guy that was riding a skateboard with an ocean spray. And Ocean Spray got to TikTok, and they got a hold of it, and they bought him a new car and everything. So I got to thinking, maybe I should have someone call like the Corvette place and say, hey, wouldn't Dan look great delivering a pizza in one of your Corvettes? Huh? That's not a bad idea.
All right, happy retirement, Domino's Dan. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran is doing a very poor job allowing oil to move through the Strait of Hormuz. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump posted that on Truth Social, adding, that's not the agreement we have.
With just 8 vessels reportedly passing through the strait in the first 48 hours of the ceasefire.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv.
I spoke with an intelligence source earlier today in the region who said the strait is effectively under full IRGC control. They decide who gets to go through, but more importantly, who doesn't. And so this is going to be a major issue at the negotiating table. And the Iranians keep making these public displays saying that they're in control, and those reports indicate they are even charging fees for vessels to pass through. But on a normal day, there are more than 100 vessels that pass through the strait. We're looking at single-digit numbers.
Vice President Vance will lead the U.S. negotiating team in the talks with Iran tomorrow in Pakistan. But there's another issue that Iran says could derail an agreement, still insisting that Lebanon was part of the ceasefire. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says no.
I want to tell you, there is no ceasefire in Lebanon. We continue to strike Hezbollah with force, and we will not stop until we restore your security.
He has agreed to talks with Lebanon's leaders next week. We're also learning Ukraine, still at war with Russia, helped us in the Iran conflict. Its President Vladimir Zelensky says Ukraine's military shot down Iranian drones in multiple Mideast countries. The Artemis II crew still asleep, about 81,000 miles away from Earth, but after a wake-up call later this morning, they'll finish packing and head home.
The crew of 4 journeyed to a point in space never before reached by humans, more than 252,000 miles away and on the far side of the moon, the first humans to visit in more than 50 years. Their spacecraft, an Orion capsule they've named Integrity, will splash land in the Pacific off San Diego's coast.
That's Fox's Evan Brown. They'll return at 8:07 p.m. Eastern after entering Earth's atmosphere at 25,000 miles an hour in a fireball protected by a heat shield. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A Chicago man is accused of threatening to shoot up an office of the United States Secret Service and hunt an agent. Michael Kovko had been arrested and charged with transmitting a threat in interstate commerce. Prosecutors say he sent an electronic message through the official White House website, which stated that he was going to hunt the Secret Service agent that came to his door and shoot up his place of work. That message was sent around 2 hours after an agent and 2 officers officers visited his Chicago home to inquire about a threat that Kovco made against President Donald Trump and one of his sons 2 days earlier. No foul play is suspected after the body of a missing man was found in a pond in suburban Elk Grove Village. Police say the discovery was made yesterday in the 700 block of Innovation Drive. Authorities identified the person as Alexis Ramirez. Preliminary information shows Ramirez went missing on March 10th after he was involved in a single vehicle crash near Higgins Road and Brennan Boulevard. Police believe Ramirez fled the scene of the accident. Law enforcement conducted an extensive search but couldn't locate him. And something sweet is coming to Chicago. Fox's Therese Crowley explains.
Hailed as the undisputed candy capital, Sweet Home Chicago, selected as the permanent home of the Candy Hall of Fame experience. A 60,000 square foot multi-level funhouse along Chicago's Magnificent Mile. Experienced designer Janet Planet, who's brought Wonka, Disney, and Marvel to life, says our goal is to give that joy a place. The shared delight people feel when they encounter something sweet. For the summer of 27. Therese Crowley, Fox News.
This report is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 613114. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Looking for a powerful way to support your immune system? Now's your chance to win a free bottle of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail made with 23 science-backed ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and natural nutraceuticals designed to support your body's natural defenses. 10 winners will each receive a free bottle. Hey, don't miss your shot to boost your wellness routine. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/immune. That's 560theanswer.com/IMMUNE.
All right, folks. As we approach Liberty Island, you'll see the iconic Statue of Liberty, standing tall at over 300 feet. The torch in her hand symbolizes a beacon of hope that's held up by her very wavy arm.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. It's proven to slow GA progression and could preserve your remaining vision for longer, so you can keep seeing the world around you. Don't take Izervay if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't wait for your vision changes to progress. Ask your retina specialist about Izervay today. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Get ready for the ultimate country music getaway. Country superstar Riley Green is performing live along with Chris Young, Lauren Elena, and Randy Houser on the second voyage of the Top Shelf Country Cruise. Sailing March 2027 aboard the Celebrity Summit, departing in Tampa with stops in Key West, Bimini, and Cozumel. Enjoy 7 days of entertainment brought to you by Signature Cruise Experiences. Open booking is finally here, so go to TopShelfCountryCruise.com now to book your cabin.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Rick Borick talks about the emotions of stock market investing.
At what point would you rethink your decision that you're invested in the stock market? And you'll notice that someone who answered that question 6 months ago saying, I'm not going to panic until it's down 30%, calls you up on the phone and says, it's down 8, what's going on? And I says, what happened to the 30% guy, right?
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. President Trump has done what 7 presidents before him would not. He demolished the leading state sponsor of terrorism's leadership, military, and nuclear abilities. For this alone, the Nobel Peace Prize seems not quite enough. We shall see if the temporary ceasefire holds. Perhaps it is a moment of calibration that may require further military action, as President Trump has shown his mettle in doing with Iran before. And for those who have chosen to ignore or forget Iran's 47-year war against the United States and the West, slaughtering and maiming untold thousands of Americans and other innocents, including assassination plots against the president, if Iran fully breaks this ceasefire, they will teach the world again who they are and what they do. Meanwhile, critics blame Donald Trump for his rhetoric, of course having said nothing about the routine calls for genocide from Iran's leadership, or, for that matter, hundreds of thousands who take to the streets shouting from the river to the sea. This is a moment to thank President Trump, not condemn him. I'm Seth Leibson.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 15 in, 14 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 24 in, 26 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Just a little bit slow inbound in the express lanes between Division Street and Ohio Street. You've got 21 minutes inbound on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 17 minutes on the reverse side, 34 inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 28. 23 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound looks great at 11. A little bit slow, but it is moving inbound in the express lanes between 47th Street and the Stevenson. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect intermittent rain in the morning, giving way to some sunshine as clouds clear out later. It'll be cooler with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One day, one system, beaten, robbed, and killed. This is a piece written by a guy named John Kugler for subx.news. One day, one system, beaten, robbed, and killed. It's a well-written piece. Which is, of course, why I wanted to share it. The city starts with the execution of a 16-year-old on the south side and spends the next 12 hours proving it's not a glitch. Cameras, scanners, and the street all point in the same direction. The edges are on fire while the middle hollows out. On the 7800 block of South Coles around 9:13 a.m., 16-year-old Kanye KJ Franklin is walking north when a vehicle pulls up. One of 3 to 4 males inside opens fire, hitting him multiple times. He is taken to the University of Chicago Hospital and later pronounced dead. Area 2 detectives take the case. On paper, another homicide. On the ground, a kid executed in the street before most people finish their first cup of coffee. The numbers had already signaled the shift. CPD data for the week ending April 5 showed murders jumping 250% in a single 7-day period compared to the same week last year, part of a broader reversal after an early year dip. More shootings, more killings. Even cleared cases bring little comfort. Department figures show more than half never result in charges. Often closed because the suspect is dead or prosecutors decline to proceed. On paper, it looks like progress. On the street, the cycle rolls on. By late afternoon, the scanner revealed a city functioning inside its own breakdown. Rush hour on the CTA should feel like the city's pulse. Instead, the State Street Red Line stop at Roosevelt turns into a crime scene. Out on State Street, a white male is on a stretcher just before 4:40 p.m. Witnesses describe a 30 to 35-year-old male with black twists, black coat, black pants. The guy was beaten on the train as it kept rolling. The paperwork calls it medical. The street calls it what it is. Farther north at Loyola, man with a gun on the platform, no units available. They got a guy with a gun, and they can't do nothing. Riders boarded anyway, hoping they're not next. South of the Loop, the sidewalk tells the rest of the story. Ida B. Wells and State, people slept in cardboard boxes and in downtown doorways. A pedestrian walks past as if it were normal. Office towers in the background. Government building. Transit lines moving people past it. School district gets $1 billion a month. Kind of strange, ain't it? On paper, this is still the center of the city. In the frame, it looks stripped for parts. A few blocks over by K2, the same contrast plays out again. Glass towers, branding, new money. Tents and drug activity right up against it. Very expensive high-rise developments, and right next to them, people living outside, dealing, using, trying to survive in plain sight. Whatever the plan is supposed to be, the street is not part of it. West of downtown, the conversation shifts from survival to control. Maypole and Bell in the shadow of the United Center. Land that used to house families now sits empty or waiting. CHA property cleared and held while the neighborhood turns over. What gets built, who it's built for, and who gets pushed out is not abstract. It's visible block by block. Inside the fence, the promise of quote-unquote investment. Outside, people fighting over scraps in a neighborhood being turned over for parts. The city talks about plans. The street sees the results. The disconnect starts at the top. While the street burns, the mayor's office has been entangled in a battle to install political ally and former alderman Walter Burnett at the CHA, a move blocked by the board amid ethics questions and resident protests. At the same time, his son, Walter Red Burnett, was appointed to a city council seat. For sure. It's like an heirloom. It's passed down from generation to generation. My parenthetical remark. The rhetoric at No Kings rallies talks about power for the people, but on the corner of Fulton and California, the truth is smaller and more rot-filled. Leaves from last autumn still clog the gutters, 5 months untouched. All those departments, all those workers, all those budgets, Nobody did the job. Everybody still got paid. You don't need a report to see it. It's sitting right there on the street. The work didn't get done. The system kept moving anyway. West Side, early evening. A robbery call at Harrison Independence ended predictably. The passenger jumps into the driver's seat as the suspect is arrested and flees in a white stolen Audi after striking a squad car. No perimeter, no containment. Just another car disappearing into the grid. Like always, they got away. Out on the expressways, it turns into something else. A felony vehicle firing shots on the Kennedy, then running south onto the Bishop Ford. Traffic keeps moving while it happens. People boxed in with it, no way out, no warning. Later, the Dan Ryan logs a stolen green GMC Acadia out of Wisconsin, cutting south through the city. Another vehicle, another escape route, another way out. Every lane becomes part of the crime. By the end of the day, this does not read like a series of incidents. It reads like a system. Teenager executed in the morning. Man beaten on a train while it keeps running. Gunman on another platform and nobody to send. Encampments next to downtown towers. Public land sitting empty while people argue. Work not done, but checks still get cashed. Expressways used as escape routes. This is how it runs now. City officials continue to highlight investment, strategy, and progress. The camera and the scanner show something else. A city where safety, basic services, and real accountability have become optional. People are expected to absorb it, rationalize it, and keep going like it's normal. That expectation is the system. (312-642-5600) to give us a call or text. I mean, that is really well done. I'm not familiar with this guy, John Kugler at subx.news, but I'm going to get familiar with him now. The expectation is the system. Really good. I mean, this is something like reminiscent of Chris Arnade, in his whole treatise on back row Americans as he circumnavigated the country and the photojournalism he did. What you hear from those in charge and what you see with your own eyes and what you come to expect and accept. I love this. These riffs are really good. All those budgets, all those workers, all those departments, nobody did the job. Everybody still gets paid. No perimeter, no containment. Just another car disappearing into the grid. Another vehicle, another escape route, another way out. This is how it runs. Teenager executed in the morning. Man beaten on a train while it keeps running. Gunman on another platform and nobody to send. Encampments next to downtown towers. Public land sitting empty while people argue. Work not done, but checks still get cashed. Expressways used as escape routes. This is how it runs now. People are expected to absorb it, rationalize it, and keep going like it's normal. The expectation is the system. And all you have to do is scan the headlines. The expectation is the system. This is just like the last 48 hours. Speeding driver killed with stolen SUV just 2 weeks after being released in another stolen SUV case. Man on federal weapons probation had loaded gun on red line. Man robbed Old Town Bank on the same day he got out of federal prison for, say it with me, bank robbery. He's reformed. His rap sheet spans 36 years. Now he's AWOL after being found sleeping at a Dunkin' Donuts with burglary proceeds. Matt, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Sometimes I listen to the police scanner at night or during the day. It doesn't really matter. And the calls you hear, they've usually got something going on, like a shooting or something. Then they read what's in the backlog, and they'll say backlog for whatever, 45 minutes, an hour. And these are things like domestic violence, shots fired, fights. I mean, these are some major, I think I heard a couple weeks ago, a sexual assault, and that was backlogged like 45 minutes to an hour. So these are some serious phone calls. It's not like they're just throwing parking tickets or something like that on the backlog. They just don't have the help, and I can't believe that people in the city are letting this just go like that.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Matt. I mean, WirePoints, our friends at wirepoints.org, we've been talking about this for years. They looked at this, to your point, and to this author's point. Priority calls, 52% went unanswered a couple of years ago. And it got marginally better last year. I guess this is 3 years ago, 23. WirePoints, 2023 and 2024. Percent of calls where no police were available to respond. In 2023, it was 56%. 436,000 out of 783,000 calls. 436,000 priority 911 calls, instances where no Chicago police were available to respond. Ron, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. And Dan, thanks for reading that. And those words, man, really captured the real essence of what's going on in this city, and not that BS and garbage from all these elected officials. And you really read it very well. You captured his words, the true essence of it. So thank you. I was thinking about that young man over there at East. He ran into school. He said that's the only place he could be safe. Really? Mm-hmm. And the school's closed, I guess, 3 or 4 o'clock. That is disturbing. But these people are garbage. Pritzker, the mayor, alderman, all of them. That alderman should have been over there and been telling the mayor, don't give me this BS. There's no crime. But where's the outrage? Dan, have a good weekend, man. This stuff is sick.
Thanks for the call, Ron. Yeah, the politicians tell you one thing, the street tells you something else. Wonderful formulation. It does. It really captures it. King in Inglewood.
I appreciate it. Thanks for taking my call. Everything you said, I witnessed everything you said. Whoever wrote that article. But I'm wondering why, Dan, I mentioned before, I don't know if you remember me, why the Republican Party won't support us. I mean, I ain't saying the Democrats. I don't like the Democrats, I'm be honest. They took my mom. But the Republicans ain't helping us at all. I helped Ronald. I helped Trump the first time. Helped Trump again. People ignoring me personally in Inglewood.
Well, King, thanks for the call. I mean, Republican Party is not very good at helping anybody, starting with themselves. So that's just something that's rather unique to Illinois, unfortunately. And the results show it. Trump and what the federal government can do. I mean, look, these matters, these local and state matters are going to be solved or not at the local and state level. And that's not unique to Illinois. That's everywhere. You can only expect so much from the federal government. And particularly when the federal government's offers of help are routinely rebuked by the political class here because they're more interested in feeding red meat to their unhinged base than they are in solving problems. I mean, we could have had a surge in law enforcement resources like the president offered and implemented in D.C., or like the Memphis mayor, Democrat, took to improve peace on the streets of Memphis. Could have done that. It was offered. No. We tie strings to federal transportation dollars to improve safety on CTA, but there's only so much you can do. That's got to be executed at the local level. Roy, Glen Ellen.
Yes, good morning, Dan. By the way, thanks for mentioning my garage band, MMIWG2SLGPQQ.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Howard Jones tribute band, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I was downtown begrudgingly last weekend, and saw the people in boxes right on Congress and State. And then I'm old enough to remember I used to take the red line to Sox games. Not gonna happen now.
No, I wouldn't advise it. Thanks for the call, Roy. But don't worry. What's the three-pronged response? Recite it with me. It's not as bad as you think. There's plenty of blame to go around, and they're working on it. Tim and Zion.
Great show, Dan, as always.
Thank you.
I just want to say that just like you say, you go down to the lakefront in Chicago, you got people living in the parks and everything like that. You go north to Milwaukee, which I'm not saying is any better, but you don't have the people on the lakefront. It's a beautiful lakefront. The parks are great. I was just one more thing. I lived in Illinois. I got out 2 years ago. I didn't want to leave. I lived there all my life. I came up here. Taxes are less than half of what I was paying on my home.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's cheaper up in this area. And I talk to people all the time that they didn't want to go, but that state down there is still screwed up. It's not funny.
Thanks for the call, Tim. And by the way, I will post John Kugler's piece that I read on my X account. People want to copy it, share it. I would encourage you to. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, remember when all those athletes competed in Milan?
Of course.
Did you hear that some of the medals were breaking and falling apart?
Yeah, that was big news.
That's why I'm officially submitting Penny Mustard's services for the Summer Games.
Your what?
The medals should be made by Penny Mustard's expert craftsmen, so they can last forever. For example, look at the Sherwood bedroom, American-made from solid wood.
With drawer bottoms strong enough to stand on.
And it features our exclusive Forever Tight bed brackets to prevent the bed from getting squeaky and wobbly over time.
It's why Penny Mustard furniture lasts for generations.
And it's why we need to make the medals.
But medals are gold, silver, and bronze.
Not anymore. Starting in 2028, athletes will compete for cherry, oak, and maple.
The Sherwood Bedroom Collection with panel bed, 8-drawer dresser, mirror, and nightstand, starting at $64.45 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
If stairs in your home are becoming difficult, there's a practical solution, and it doesn't have to come with pushy salespeople. Access provides dependable stair lifts designed to help you stay safely in the home you love. No gimmicks, no overselling, just honest guidance, quality equipment, and professional local installation. We'll explain your options, work within your budget, and let you decide what's right at your pace. For a straightforward, no-pressure, free in-home consultation, call 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, we'll turn our attention to the judiciary, a topic not discussed enough, holding judges accountable. Joshua Katz from the American Enterprise Institute joins us 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 45 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Investigators are looking into a deadly house fire in northwest suburban Steamwood. That blaze started yesterday morning in the 100 block of Southwood Circle. First responders found 2 people in the residence, and one of them was pronounced dead at the scene. The other person was transported to the hospital. A firefighter also had minor injuries. The home sustained $250,000 in damage and was rendered uninhabitable. Steel. The feud over the leadership post in the Chicago City Council Zoning Committee is continuing. The panel will not be holding a meeting in April for the third straight month. Interim zoning chairman Alderman Bennett Lawson says he'll continue to refuse to hold the session until aldermen select a permanent chair. That delay has caused a backlog of zoning proposals. Lawson says he and several allies plan to use a procedural maneuver next week to force a vote which could deem him the permanent chair. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher explains the president's stance.
He's up against a world where on Saturday Night Live, Easter weekend, they joked about hoping that he gets assassinated, with the audience cheering that on. You think he cares who he offends on Easter Sunday morning with a profane-laden post? I just think it's a good time to remember that we didn't elect our pastor.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560, The Answer.
If your investments are in a 401k or an IRA, then listen carefully. You spent 30, maybe 40 years building your retirement. The question is, are you about to watch it take a hit you can't recover from? Military escalation in Iran, tariffs and legal chaos, the U.S. dollar under pressure it hasn't seen in years. History is clear. When this much uncertainty hits at once, the investors who moved into gold and silver first came out ahead. Right now, Advantage Gold is offering a free gold investment kit and a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's powerful new book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty free through Advantage Gold. Don't wait for the next surge to wish you had moved sooner. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Dan Ryan inbound between 95th Street and 83rd Street with a crash in the right lane, so it's 24 minutes from 95th Street to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound still looks good at 11. You also have a crash on the Stevenson. It's outbound at Damon Avenue, so 25 minutes from Lakeshore to Veterans Memorial. Inbound, though, is 39. 16 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Hook to Montrose. You've got 29 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 37, 29 in, 19 out on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office, and stop and go on Route 53 northbound between the Eisenhower and Kirchhoff Road. This report is the service of Allstate. Some people just know you can save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect some rain in the morning, giving way to clouds clearing for a bit of sunshine, resulting in cooler temperatures with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. On the matter of judicial vulgarity, quite literally, but also substantively, perhaps the former begets the latter. The case of Olympus Spa v. Armstrong, which was taken up by the Ninth Circuit Appellate Court. It involves it's a 2020 case where a trans woman in Washington State alleged that a traditional Korean spa, which requires patrons to be entirely naked, refused her entry because she had not yet undergone right. So this is a dude pretending to be a woman. He had not undergone his, gender reassignment surgery, quote unquote. And so it was about, basically men and women's spaces, one of these cases. But it was the dissent in the case that, got some attention because of the graphic rhetoric that one appellate court judge named Lawrence Van Dyke used. And Joshua Katz recently wrote a piece on the topic and had some takeaways as to the word choice used by Judge Van Dyke and sort of the larger implications of what's happening in the judiciary, we see it in our politics too, that politicians think they sound tough or no nonsense when they use profanity. And so now this is manifesting itself in the courts as well. A welcome occurrence? I don't think so. Joshua Katz is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. He joins us now. Joshua, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. It's always great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, use whichever euphemisms you would like to describe Joshua.
I know it's difficult on the radio, isn't it?
to describe the dissent, but big swinging blank is what Judge Van Dyke described this case as being about, and I'll let you take it from there.
Right. In fact, no big. It was just the swinging blank.
Sure.
Or blank in this case. So one thing to say is that there were a number of dissents in this case. And this case, like so many cases, would, of course, have received attention because people are interested in trans issues at the moment. But the real attention is, as you just pointed out, from this one dissent, whose first sentence is, "This is a case about swinging blanks." People sat up and took notice, and indeed 27 of his colleagues across the spectrum issued a statement in which they said this was not a place for vulgar barroom talk. He had used coarse language, he had used crude and vitriolic language, and so on and so forth, to which his response was, look, if you're bothered by language, imagine what it's like to be in a women's only spa with some patrons as young as 13 and see, as he put it, the real thing. So that's what's at issue here. At issue, among other things, is whether we care more about the delicacy of language or the delicacy of, I don't know how to put it, anatomy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look, on the one sense, I sense in the one sense of it, I get that maybe the judge is a little bit frustrated at cases like this, and perhaps he sees this as just terribly nonsensical, and he's using a charged description in order to hit people, across the forehead with a rhetorical 2x4. Like, wait, what are we doing here? Is my reading between the lines. But by the same, so I get that frustration if that's what this is a manifestation of. But I also think that there's a certain standard of decorum that should be attendant to being to wearing the robe, as it were. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think the response to a coursing of our culture is to participate.
I think that's probably right. I have, over the last few weeks, gone back and forth on what I think about his having done it. I do think it is clearly a coarsening. The question is there anything that he could have done to have made the point really strongly without doing this? And in the article that you mentioned, I go through a few things. But if I could, what I'd really like to say is that there's a matter on the other side, and that is that it's one thing to complain, I think probably correctly, about vulgar language by people in black robes. But it's another thing to note that all of the other judges who wrote opinions, and there are 105 pages of opinions here, other judges hid behind the very anodyne term genitalia. They never used what one would call normal words for the male and female organs of generation, of procreation. Yeah. They simply said genitalia. And if you do that, you point out that, in your opinion, male and females both have genitalia, so hey, what's the big deal if you switch male and female or female and male? Whereas we all know, or at least virtually everybody knows, that that's just not true for genitalia the way it is for, say, ears or toes or hair, right? That you can switch them and it doesn't matter, but here it really does matter. So I'm as bothered, and probably more bothered, by the use of genitalia to the exclusion of any normal term by the other judges than I am by Van Dyke's use of the phrase I'm not now going to mention.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, I get the sort of the euphemism is a generous word. I mean, it's purposefully misleading language. It's the mealy mouthed rhetoric of the identitarian. It's the spokeshuman kind of thing. So yes. So I get that, but to me it's more powerful if you expose that, like you did, pun intended. If you expose it in your response to the majority opinion, or even to another dissent for an unrelated matter, as opposed to, like I said, I guess, demonstrate the absurd by being absurd. I guess that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, that's certainly what he was trying to do. I mean, Mike Fregoso wrote a very nice piece, I think, in National Review, saying that Lawrence Van Dyke, who is very much on the right, is acting, as he is in other cases too, as a, quote, postmodern jurist. Right? He's playing, right, if that's the right verb, with the conventions, the formalities, the whole business that he's engaged in.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it, I would have liked to have more commentary from him, more dicta, if I may, from him, where he said, "Look, I know people are going to react to my characterization of the male body parts at the spa this way, but let me tell you what's really vulgar. What's really vulgar is not my choice of language. What's vulgar are the opinions that are emanating from courts around the country on matters like this, and maybe a larger commentary about a judicial restraint and judicial philosophy and the role of a judiciary. I mean, that seems to me like the jumping off point to offer more than he offered."
Right. I agree with that. I mean, the bottom line is that what I think judges ought to do is use more often the standard term that one uses. I assume I could say this on radio, but let's just call it the moment the P word, right? This is
penis, and like anatomically correct.
Am I allowed to say that? You say if you write that, then on the one hand you're not being vulgar, and on the other hand you're not hiding behind, as you put it, mealy-mouthed rhetoric. You're simply being accurate, and that would be helpful.
Yeah, but there's this larger commentary that would be nice to hear from the bench about the politicization of the judiciary. I mean, of course, the federal judiciary in particular, we see in spectacular fashion with everything that President Trump wants to do, taking positions they know are afoul of the law, But hey, I did my duty, and I know I'm going to be overturned by an appellate court or the Supreme Court if the appellate court wants to do the same thing I'm doing. But I'm doing it anyway because I have to take this political position regardless of what the law says. And that these sorts of things need more hands on deck with respect to judges.
I think that's right. Of course, doing that will increase the ballooning opinions, which we have. Opinions used to be much, much shorter and have many fewer footnotes than they do now. And the more you have meta commentary, even if it's the sort of meta commentary that you and I might approve of, the more you're getting away from the strict cases themselves, which may be okay, but is a change.
And did Van Dyke respond to his critics?
Well, the way these opinions work is that there's back and forth. Has he responded since then? I admit I don't know that. Not that I know of. Yeah. But I could be wrong about that.
Because, I mean, you're allowed as a judge to, you're still an American citizen. You are allowed to speak other than in written opinions on a particular case. I mean, we see, for example, Federal District Court Judge Roy Altman talking about this book he's written on Israel and talking about the Iran war. And so, I mean, you're allowed to enter the fray and offer more than you do just within the limits of your profession. You know what I mean?
You are, and of course, Supreme Court justices are increasingly doing this. I think 7 of the 9 have books out or are working on books right now. I think only Justices Roberts and Kagan don't.
Yeah, and if I was a sitting judge, I would be a little bit more attuned and concerned about the growing angst in the body politic with judges playing politics. There's all sorts of discussions going on right now, not just on the left with expanding the Supreme Court, but on the right with how do we hold judges accountable at the circuit court level when it comes to violent criminals, and at the federal district court, appellate court level when it comes to things like presidential power and essentially acting as obstructionists like they're members of Hakeem Jeffries' caucus. So if I'm a judge, I want to weigh in on that topic because it's an important one for the ongoing legitimacy of the courts.
Indeed it is. I wish it weren't, so I'll say again a version of what I said a few minutes ago, namely that there are ballooning opinions and then there are ballooning non-opinions outside the court, and this may be necessary. I don't deny this. I wish it weren't necessary, but I do agree with you that in the current circumstances, more of that is going to be needed before we perhaps go back to less.
Joshua Katz, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Joshua, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always great to be here. Thanks a lot.
Annie, join us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
If you think smart home technology is complicated, overwhelming, or crazy expensive, you haven't been to Cole Digital. At Cole Digital in Frankfurt, smart living isn't about flashy gadgets or blowing your budget. It's about making your home more comfortable, more functional, and more enjoyable, simply and affordably. And there's no better place to experience that than their 13,000 square foot design center, the most impressive technology showroom in all of Chicago. You'll walk through 30 fully designed rooms featuring audio, video, lighting, automation, and ideas you can actually use in your home. Every project Cole Digital does starts with a blank canvas and becomes a one-of-a-kind masterpiece designed around your style and vision. So if you're looking for inspiration, planning a remodel, or just want to see what smart living's really about, visiting Cole Digital in Frankfurt needs to be on your February to-do list. Learn more and plan your visit at coledigital.com. That's KOLE digital.com.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like if I need a replacement part?
Sure, we can help with that.
Ah, nice. Hey, I just entered this online contest for coolest bike in the world. You think maybe you can vote for me?
Actually, we just do insurance, not popularity contests.
Yeah, I know. But what's your email? I'll just send you the link real quick. You can vote like 100 times a day. They'll never know.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
So what I'm hearing is there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions.
Hi, everyone. Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis here from Legal Help Center. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up, because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. You can find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Vernon. You heard it, folks. If you've been injured, call and find out how much you qualify for. Call 800-541-5100. Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
All right, folks. As we approach Liberty Island, you'll see the iconic Statue of Liberty, standing tall at over 300 feet. The torch in her hand symbolizes a beacon of hope that's held up by her very wavy arm.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. It's proven to slow GA progression and could preserve your remaining vision for longer, so you can keep seeing the world around you. Don't take Izervay if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't wait for your vision changes to progress. Ask your retina specialist about Izervay today. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
RedState.com captures the pulse of grassroots conservatism. Red State staff of contributors are on top of breaking news with stories and analysis that challenge the established agenda. RedState.com educates, motivates, and activates passionate conservatives across America, arming them with the facts that put them ahead of the political curve. No wonder RedState.com is a must-read for elected officials and for citizens who want to make their vote count. RedState.com is the place where influence meets action. Log on to RedState.com today.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here. You want to hear something astounding? Of course you do. More from Jennifer Siebel Newsom, the first partner. Don't say lady. She's not a lady, and I agree with her. The first partner of Sparkle Beach Ken meets Patrick Bateman, Gavin Newsom, the putative frontrunner for the nomination of the Neo-Marxist Party in 2028. So you better get used to the wit and wisdom of Jennifer Siebel Newsom, first partner. She gave us a lot of tips yesterday on raising gender-neutral kids. Listen to this take on violent criminals and how she compares a terrible accident that took her sister to the plight of violent criminals.
I had to be very raw when we interviewed the young men who were juvenile offenders in San Quentin. I told them about my own loss, where I lost my older sister a few days before my 7th birthday, and I blamed myself for her death. And I share that because that they ultimately were accused of committing these violent crimes and sentenced for life. And I think it shocked them that this, blonde lady who was, interviewing them had a similar story, was perhaps in the wrong place at the wrong time, but wasn't punished the way they were, because clearly it was an accident, but theirs was probably an accident too. So anyway, I share that just because I guess, I quite enjoy spending time with people and being real and unmasking and showing them that it's safe to unmask themselves.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So her sister dies, and I don't know what the accident was, but obviously an accident. It's terrible, and she shouldn't blame herself. I can understand why she's emotional. Okay, so that's compartmentalized. Juvenile offenders in San Quentin are probably also there because of an accident that wasn't of their own doing. This is the mentality you're dealing with. You should not be unfamiliar with it, because it's the mentality you're dealing with similarly situated awfuls in Chicagoland, isn't it? Let me go back to John Kugler. And by the way, I did post this piece on X because it's applicable to any big blue city and big blue state. They're all failing, and they're all failing for the same reasons. Different names, same policies, same mentality. By the end of the day, this does not read like a series of incidents. It reads like a system. Teenager executed in the morning. Man beaten on a train while it keeps running. Gunman on another platform and nobody to send. Encampments next to downtown towers. Public land sitting empty while people argue. Work not done, but checks still cashed. Expressways used as escape routes. This is how it runs now. People are expected to absorb it, rationalize it, and keep going like it's normal. The expectation is the system. You throw in a high-speed rail boondoggle, and you got California. Coming up at 8:08, we'll visit the state of the ceasefire and the future of NATO with Josh Hammer. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Vice President Vance is on his way to Pakistan. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, where he will lead the U.S. talks with Iran after the ceasefire put a stop to the U.S. and Israeli attacks.
We're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll, of course, see, as the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand.
Israel continuing to attack Lebanon is a big point of contention for Iran. For the U.S., reopening the Strait of Hormuz is vital. President Trump posted on Truth Social, Iran's doing a very poor job.
An Israeli intelligence official tells Fox News Iran is indeed demanding fees for the few vessels it's allowing to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This official adds the strait is effectively under full IRGC control. They decide who gets to go through, but more importantly, who doesn't.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Oil prices down a bit this morning after Wednesday's big plunge. They're still way higher than before the conflict started, and we just got the first inflation report for March showing a 0.9% increase in consumer prices from February. The annual rate of inflation also rose to 3.3%. Now today, President Trump will meet with some Republican senators discussing Homeland Security funding, still held up in a stalemate with Democrats in Congress who keep demanding immigration enforcement reform. Senator Rick Scott tells Fox Business the GOP has to work around that.
So we have two options. Either we're going to have to do it through reconciliation, which only takes Republican votes, and we ought to do it for 10 years so this never happens again, or we've got to come to our senses, get rid of the filibuster, and start passing things on a majority vote.
The Artemis moon mission ends tonight. The astronauts will come home in a fireball at first, protected by a heat shield.
That shield protects the crew from the intense heat from friction as Earth's upper atmosphere slows the capsule from about 24,000 miles an hour to about 350 miles an hour.
Fox's Jonathan Sari says 11 parachutes will help slow the crew down for the splashdown off the San Diego coast, 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time. America's listening to Fox News.
morning. It is 45 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Mayor Brandon Johnson has named Anjanette Young to be on the Chicago's Police Oversight Board. Young will fill a vacancy on the Community Commission on Public Safety and Accountability. Her selection still requires City Council approval. She gained notoriety after she was the victim of a botched raid back in February of 2019 when officers forced her to stand handcuffed and naked as they searched her Chicago home. As a result of that incident, the city paid her nearly $3 million to resolve a lawsuit that she filed against the city of Chicago. Illinois lawmakers are considering a ban on no-knock warrants named after Young. A Chicago postal worker is accused of stealing and altering checks before depositing them in her personal account. Tanisha Harris has been charged with theft by deception of between $500 and $10,000, as well as forgery. Prosecutors say the defendant stole checks from postal customers and then would change the amount on the checks and make them out to herself. Harris is expected back in court on May 7th. The youngest son of the late Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. is taking over as the new leader of the Rainbow Push Coalition. The organization announced that Yusef Jackson has been appointed as president and CEO of Rainbow Push. His appointment comes after his father died in February at the age of 84. And a new candy destination is coming to Chicago. Fox's Therese Crowley has the details.
Hailed as the undisputed candy capital, Sweet Home Chicago, selected as the permanent home of the Candy Hall of Fame experience. A 60,000 square foot multi-level fun house along Chicago's Magnificent Mile. Therese Crowley, Fox News.
This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prof University and The Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Wall Street will be reacting today to the inflation reading, the Consumer Price Index for March. Apple is dealing with a shortage of memory components, but even with that going on, research firm Counterpoint says Apple's global smartphone shipments rose 5% in the first quarter. Apple continues to supply more phones than any other company globally. Apple is closing its Towson, Maryland store, the first location to join a union 4 years ago. The company says several retailers have left the mall where the store is located, but the union says it's outraged by the decision and is exploring all legal options. Taiwan Semiconductor, TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, says business jumped 35% in the first quarter, boosted by demand for AI chips. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Alex Marlow doesn't like the roster.
We've accomplished a lot in the first year and a quarter of Trump's administration, probably far beyond most of our expectations. When I look at the slate of the Democrats, just in terms of issues, their people, what they're arguing for, they have zero charisma. They have zero ideas of any value.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Have you seen my husband?
No.
My husband is hot.
Okay.
And he just keeps getting hotter and hotter.
I'm sorry to hear that.
What?
But I have good news.
You do?
Hasselus Mattress is home to a variety of cool gel mattresses, including Tempur-Pedic.
No, I mean he's hot.
When he sleeps, I can relate. But our cool gel mattresses sleep an average of 10 degrees cooler than traditional mattresses. So he'll be cool as a cucumber.
Okay, but...
And right now, get 48 months interest-free financing on Tempur-Pedic with approved credit.
Well, that's great, but...
Plus, free next-day delivery and setup, free removal of your old mattress, and a $300 MasterCard gift card with your new Tempur-Pedic.
Hold on. You're saying I can cool down with a new Tempur-Pedic with no interest for 48 months and a $300 gift card?
What do you think?
I think that's pretty hot.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
All right, folks. As we approach Liberty Island, you'll see the iconic Statue of Liberty, standing tall at over 300 feet. The torch in her hand symbolizes a beacon of hope that's held up by her very wavy arm.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. It's proven to slow GA progression and could preserve your remaining vision for longer, so you can keep seeing the world around you. Don't take Izervay if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't wait for your vision changes to progress. Ask your retina specialist about Izervay today. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Allard. It's a crash slowing you down on Lakeshore Drive southbound at Foster Avenue. It takes out the left lane and it is stop and go back to Hollywood Avenue. We are in great shape on the Edens, just 17 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, 38 in, 41 out on the Kennedy, from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 34 minutes inbound on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 26, real slow inbound on the Stevenson. It's 51 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 30, 38 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound looks good at 12. The express lanes inbound hitting the brakes between Garfield Boulevard and the Stevenson, and stop and go on Route 53 northbound between the Ike and Kirchhoff Road. This report is a service of Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect intermittent rain in the morning, giving way to some sunshine as clouds clear out later. It'll be cooler with a high of 54. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 36. Tomorrow, anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Will Iran be the mouse that roared? Great Peter Sellers movie, by the way. That seems to be what the Wall Street Journal editorial board is suggesting if Trump is unwilling to restart the military campaign against whatever constitutes the regime in Tehran. Did the war with Iran that began with a war end with a whimper? They ask. It's the way it looks in the cold light of this week after President Trump's announcement of the 2-week ceasefire. Will Trump really start bombing again if Iran draws out talks? Given the risk to oil prices, count us skeptical. This president can change his mind in a minute, but it sounds like the end of this round of hostilities. So what's the result? Yes, the U.S. and Israel succeeded in further degrading Iran's nuclear program beyond what they did in June of last year. The nearly 40 days of bombing also did enormous damage to Iran's military and industrial base. Yeah, as CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper said, we destroyed a military they built in 40 years over 40 days. The biggest disappointments, though, the Wall Street Journal editorial board continues, are Iran's continuing threat to the Strait of Hormuz and what happens to an enriched uranium stockpile. Mr. Trump is sending confusing signals about both that Iran is contradicting. I'm not sure his signals are that confusing, but the larger question of is he willing to go back to business if Iran dithers and remains unserious about a cessation of hostilities that includes Trump's must-haves. Both of those items I would include on that list of must-haves. Well, President Trump responded to the Ed Board. The Wall Street Journal, one of the worst and most inaccurate editorial boards in the world, I don't know about that, stated that I declared premature victory in Iran. Actually, it is a victory, and there's nothing premature about it. Because of me, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and very quickly you'll see oil start flowing with or without the help of Iran. And to me, it makes no difference either way. The Wall Street Journal will, as usual, live to eat their words. They're always quick to criticize, but never to admit when they're wrong, which is most of the time. Although he didn't address the underlying argument that he is unwilling to continue the campaign, that he is done with the imposition of the stick if they refuse the carrot. However, he also said of the ceasefire, such as it is, not much of one since a lot of the firing has not ceased, Iran is doing a very poor job, dishonorable some would say, of allowing oil to go through the Strait of Hormuz. This is not the agreement we have. So he's annoyed. And obviously he wants to give time for the talks this weekend, J.D. Vance, along with Witkoff and Kushner, see what they're able to accomplish. So let's adjudicate the matter. And to help us do that, please be joined by Josh Hammer, Newsweek senior editor-at-large, host of The Josh Hammer Show, and senior counsel for the Article 3 Project as well. Josh, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Do you get the sense that Trump is unwilling to resume hostilities if the Iranians are recalcitrant? I don't.
Well, I think it's way too early to make any assessments along those lines. This tentative ceasefire just went into place just a couple of nights ago. And right now, it seems like Iran is essentially holding the Strait of Hormuz hostage still. They allowed precisely one oil tanker to pass a day or two ago, as opposed to the normal 150, give or take vessels to pass on a normal basis, that they're trying to charge fees potentially in cryptocurrency. So the whole thing is a bit of a mess. And if I had to make a prediction, I do not think that this ceasefire is ultimately going to last super long. We'll see what happens in Pakistan this weekend. But if I were a betting man, I would probably wager that there will be some sort of resumption of hostilities within the next week and a half. Very difficult to put a timeline on that, but it's pretty telling that President Trump has not moved any soldiers or any other military assets, vessels, helicopters, cargo planes, any of that. He's not moved any of that out of the region. It's all kind of just sitting there, quite literally, actually, in the water offshore, essentially waiting for the commander-in-chief to give the go to resume hostilities. So I don't think that this is going to last. Frankly, I hope that it doesn't last, because while it is true that the United States has definitely achieved tremendous objectives thus far, and Iran is a much, much, much lower threat right now than it was a month and a half ago. It is a severely defanged tiger. The task remains ahead. And if I understand the goal of this operation, Epic Fury, since day one, it is the neutralization of Iran as a threat to the United States and its national interest. And again, that's been partially achieved. I think it would be dramatically overstating it to say that it has been fully achieved. They still have some drones, they still have some missiles, they still have some enriched uranium, some nuclear material, and they're still able to hold the Strait of Hormuz hostage, it seems. So I'm not entirely sure that we've achieved our goals, as much damage as we've been able to nonetheless do.
Well, yeah, and Heggs had said the other day in that briefing with General Kane that we're going to hang around. You know, I mean, we're not going anywhere, so we're poised and ready. And I don't think Trump has really sent some mixed signals. If you sort of read between the lines in some of his customary rhetoric about the need to obtain that enriched uranium and the need to open the strait. Marco Rubio, he said 2 weeks ago, that strait is getting open one way or the other. So that's clearly reflective of the president's thinking as well. So, I'm not sure I'm getting mixed signals from him. I think even to the point of his sort of typical Norman Vincent Peale, like Iran and the U.S. are going to work together for us to get our hands on the nuclear dust from the strikes last June. Now, of course, Iran has not agreed to that, but he's projecting onto them what he wants to see happen. So that's still very much top of mind.
For sure. And look, there's a lot of moving parts here. It looks like the U.S. State Department is going to try to broker some sort of deal between Israel and Hezbollah this weekend. That's a whole other part of the puzzle here. And there's too many moving parts to definitively say what exactly is going to happen. If I'm just being very, very honest here, my read at this ceasefire a couple of nights ago is that Trump was probably getting a little spooked by the markets. I mean, this is Donald Trump. This is a guy who has been a businessman, and he's been in finance and real estate deals and all this his entire life there. He's basically trying just to calm the markets, I think, and to send a signal that this war is not going to go on forever, which should have been obvious, to be clear. Donald Trump has no interest in true forever wars, but I think he was trying to send a firmer signal than perhaps he has sent there. But deep down, I think he knows. Certainly, I think Secretary Hegseth knows. Certainly, I think the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Raising-Kane, knows. They know that the objectives, insofar as I've laid them out, have not been fully achieved yet. Again, this is definitely a tremendous partial victory, and we should not downplay that at all. There's been incredible operational, tactical, military success. The Iranian Navy, Air Force, essentially nearly non-existent at this point there, but they still do have a missile and a drone arsenal of some sort there, and perhaps even more relevant to the point, they are still able to close down this crucial waterway through which 1/5 of the world's oil is able to flow.
And to the extent that Iran was using the strikes against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon by Israel as the basis for them to play games in the Strait, as they have for the last couple of days, that's being taken off the table, as you just were referencing. And it also speaks to that relationship between Trump and Bibi that is constructive, and it seems to me that Bibi is willing to fly in formation with Trump to give him the latitude that he needs or that he wants, sort of in the moment. That seems pretty clear, and it also sort of undermines this still nagging assertion by some that that Israel persuaded Trump into this, and they're running the program, and Trump is doing their bidding, and so forth.
Yeah, look, there's a lot to be said on that. I mean, I think the most obvious thing to say is that the people who are peddling this conspiracy theory, let's call it, take a very dim view of Donald Trump. If you listen to the president is that stupid, is just a puppet, that he, the president of the world's greatest fighting force, the greatest military in the history of mankind, can be led into battle by a tiny country of 9 to 10 million people. I mean, what does that say about your assessment of Donald Trump? I mean, Trump himself has also, as I'm sure you know, been deeply consistent on the issue of Iran for 45 to 50 years now. There's literally footage of him blasting Jimmy Carter during the hostage crisis at the embassy back in 1980, of saying, why is Carter not going in, use the military there? He threatened to take over Karg Island in an interview with the British newspaper, The Guardian, back in 1988. He famously pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal the first time, cost him Soleimani assassination, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's been very, very consistent on this for a very, very long time. As far as Netanyahu and Israel are concerned, I think it's important to bear in mind here that, look, two things are true at once. One is Israel has been a very effective ally. Hegseth was reiterating that just a day or two ago. They have gone to battle with the United States and have been, in Hegseth's own words, a genuine force multiplier. At one point, still early in the conflict, the two militaries were so intertwined, a source told me, that they were essentially fighting as one combined military unit. And that's what an ally is supposed to look like, in contrast to the free riders of NATO who kind of just sat on the sidelines there, even though they're the ones who are actually within missile range of Iran and also who are more reliant and dependent on Iranian oil. So that's what an ally looks like. On the other hand, Israel, again, is a tiny country. I mean, they are 1,000% the junior partner in this relationship. And when the senior partner decides that they want to take a pause for whatever reason, doesn't really matter what the reason is there, the junior partner is essentially going to listen there and wait for marching orders. Now, it's possible that there could be more of a direct disagreement and a bit of a delta between the two nations' national interests, but I don't think that day is today. Right now, I think the Israelis are basically just going along, and it's true that Hezbollah is still a big threat on the northern border. But let's not forget that Hezbollah is also dramatically defanged relative to what it was a year and a half, 2 years ago as well there. So the whole region overall, zooming out a little bit, the whole region, I think, is notably more stable and in a better place than it was prior to October 7th there. And that's really due to the tremendous damage due to Iran and its various ring of proxies, including Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Well, speaking of those Western European allies, some in properly using scare quotes to describe them. Apparently, the president talked to UK PM Keir Starmer yesterday. Starmer and Qatar, fresh off of negotiating the ceasefire, at least in his words. So the lines of communication have reopened, but it doesn't seem like Trump's posture on NATO has really moved, even after his meeting with Secretary General Rutte and then this conversation that the BBC reported that Starmer and Trump had yesterday.
Well, look, Rutte was actually on CNN with Jake Tapper just yesterday. I mean, and was admitting that NATO has not performed, and that Trump has good reason to be upset with NATO right now. I mean, what does that say about NATO? That the general secretary of the entire organization is going on American television, basically saying, you know what? The president of the United States is actually justified in having some qualms about how the alliance performed here.
Well, it says that he knows that America is integral to keep NATO together, so he's got to make sure that America gets served because, frankly, Spain and France and Canada don't matter nearly as much.
Right. No, totally. And look, the issue with NATO is that is fundamentally an organization in search of a purpose. That was not always the case. NATO was founded in 1949 for a very clear and explicit and frankly noble purpose, which was at minimum to contain, at maximum to defeat the Soviet Union. The problem for NATO is actually a good problem. It's like the best problem possible. Is that it won? Like NATO literally won the reason that it was established. It won with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the formal dissolution of the Soviet Union into the Russian Federation 2 years later in 1991. So for 35 years now, 3.5 decades, NATO has essentially just gone along with a rather amorphous, ill-defined mission. I couldn't even tell you exactly how NATO defines its mission to this day. It seems to me to just be a vague defense of Western liberalism, which might work in a Barack Obama or Joe Biden administration, the kind of administration that will go intervene in Libya, for instance, to topple Muammar Gaddafi on purely humanitarian grounds. But that's essentially a non-starter for the more hard-headed nationalism, realism vision of President Trump. So I think these are two visions of geopolitics and how nation states and multilateral alliances ought to comport with one another. These are two contrasting visions that are now really going head to head. And I happen to think, to kind of put my cards on the table, I think that Trump's vision is essentially correct. The 21st century will be guided more by strategic bilateral, trilateral alliances. Again, this U.S.-Israel military alliance for the past month and a half is a very good example of what that looks like in the 21st century. To me, that is the future. These bulky 30, 40 country multilateral alliances, whether it's NATO, whether it's the European Union superstructure over in Europe itself there. In many ways, I think that this is reminiscent of the Cold War and the immediate post-Cold War years, but it's not the way that geopolitics will be conducted in the 21st century. And Trump is fundamentally right, essentially, about NATO.
And to those who say, he's right to be critical of NATO and their performance here, many of the countries, but to go that next step and withdraw from NATO would be waving a red cape in front of Putin and Xi, and would be something that would be very destabilizing in Europe and sort of provide incentive for Putin's revanchism dreams and create a situation where America may be dragged back into have to deal with Putin if and when the Europeans can't.
Yeah, I think that America can achieve its purposes in this respect at a lower cost and with more capable allies and with overall less free riding. Russia, more generally speaking, the notion that there should be a 25, 30, 35, whatever the exact number is, country alliance to deter Russia, I find pretty farcical, frankly. Russia has been bogged down now for 4 years in the Ukraine war. They revealed themselves to be something of a military paper tiger, really one of the least efficient fighting forces currently on the world stage, based on what we can glean from what's happened there on the battlefield in Eastern Europe. The threat to America is China. China is the threat, period, full stop, end of story. To me, China is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth largest threat that America faces. All these other countries, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, back when Maduro ran it, Cuba, et cetera, they're all parts of the Chinese Communist Party's attempt to make the 21st century a Chinese century and not an American century. So to the extent that we're going to get involved in these broader alliance structures, we really have to focus on the Indo-Pacific. And if we want to get involved with, we'll call it a 3 or 4 party alliance there with some core allies, India, Japan, South Korea, maybe the Philippines, Vietnam, perhaps even, to try and contain Chinese hegemony, I would be all supportive of that there. As long as America is not overtly subsidized in there, but some sort of alliance structure along those lines makes much more sense to me, frankly, than this NATO superstructure that, again, literally achieved its raison d'etre, its reason for existing, basically the year I was born, frankly, 1989, which is the year that the Berlin Wall fell. And ever since then, they've kind of just been floating aimlessly without a purpose, kind of just waiting for people to redefine it there. But thus far, that redefinition has simply not happened.
Josh Hammer is Newsweek senior editor-at-large, host of the Josh Hammer Show, and senior counsel for the Article 3 Project. Josh, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yes, it's that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls. 312-642-5600. You can text us, too, if you're afraid to call. But give us a call. 312-642-5600 to give us a call with your comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all, as we do. Before we begin, I just want to throw this out there because I'd love to hear some anecdotes. Never really been in a had an employer that does these sorts of things, and I would only do so basically at the point of a gun. But I don't know if people have watched this series Jury Duty, and then the second season is Corporate Retreat. So the concept of the show, for those who haven't watched it, just get you up to speed quickly. The first season was there is this civil trial, and everybody involved in the trial is an actor except one juror who doesn't know that that everyone else is an actor. And so they and I think in Jury Duty, the judge, who's an actor but is a retired Cook County Circuit Court judge too. But I think I heard that. Anyway, pretty funny. And one of the jurors is actually a more well-known actor, James Marsden, that sort of directs the attention of the juror who's not an actor away from everybody else who is also an actor. Anyway, so that's the concept. It's a different version of reality TV. It's sort of like Truman Show, but obviously the juror who's not an actor wasn't born into the show. The second season is hysterical, and same concept, but it's in the context of a family business, like a family sauce business. And everybody involved in the company is an actor, except one guy. This guy they hire to be a personal assistant. So they hire him to be a personal assistant, but his first gig is to go on the corporate retreat and sort of, be the administrative person to make sure that the schedule is adhered to and all this stuff. So he hasn't met a lot of the employees because he just gets hired and the first thing is corporate retreat. And so they go to, some basically like campgrounds to have this retreat. It is really, really good. And it's amazing they could pull this off. I mean, because, so much you have to anticipate about how the non-actor is going to react to these various storylines. The reason I bring this up is because the Wall Street Journal had a piece about a corporate retreat that went very badly wrong. And it's sort of a life imitating art. And I just wanted to see if our listeners have had similar experience. So I'll give you a little bit of this actual story. This is not Corporate Retreat, the show. This is a corporate retreat that a tech company named Plex took its 120 employees on. The corporate retreat was to Honduras for a week-long bonding experience, trust falls and all the like. $500,000 the company spent on this week-long corporate retreat for 120 employees to Honduras. And the theme of the trip was built around like Survivor, the TV show, with teams and challenges. The idea is for it to be fun, but not too physically grueling because, a lot of these tech employees are not exactly decathletes, if you get my drift. Well, the executive should have taken a sign just as the first bus of staffers pulled up to the resort. The CEO was already in his hotel bathroom and experiencing an initial wave of violent stomach infection. What followed was a comedy of errors, including military drills that outpaced anything the group of office workers had in mind, a rogue porcupine in a shower, stranded airplanes, and one syringe to the butt of an employee. I mean, and they make the reference to jury duty and corporate retreat because, as I said, this is life imitating art. Just a couple of the comments from the employees that went on this after everybody, thankfully, was rescued and returned home safely. Sean Hoff is a corporate retreat agency that planned the trip. His comment, about 3 weeks before we arrived in Honduras, we got an email from the hotel's general manager that said, "I will be departing. I wish you the best with your retreat." I knew something was off. 3 days later, another email. The head chef was no longer going to be at the hotel. And then it just devolved from there. Chief product officer and co-founder of Plex. We got there. We've got to take a bus from the airport, dirt roads. You start getting closer, and there are guard towers around the property, people with machine guns and stuff. A lot of people were like, where are we? Where are we going? Everything, Keith, who is the CEO, everything there is fried. Basically, people are telling me, don't eat the vegetables, don't eat the vegetables. I was like, I've got to have a salad, just one little salad. So I got E. coli, which is maybe the worst thing you could get, possibly ever. Just as people were arriving on the buses, I was like, uh-oh. I lost 8 to 10 pounds. Doctor had to come. They nailed an IV bag to the bedpost. Not off to a rousing start. People are arriving for the party that night. The next day is the Survivor-themed kickoff. There's not a person on the planet more excited about Survivor than the CEO and his wife. They've watched every single episode. They met Jeff Probst, actually. What I wanted is when everybody shows up, I do a Jeff Probst. Welcome to the island. Here's the theme for the week. But he was indisposed. The head of business development, you got something good, then not so good. It was escalating. I knew there was a potential for it to be something pretty bad. When I opened the cover, this is one of the Survivor, challenges. When I opened the cover, it was a dead tarantula. I'm a Texan, so I've been around tarantulas my whole life. I knew what it was, never eaten one. My team was like, if you don't want to do this, you're totally fine. We can just take the loss. I grabbed it, did it, pretty horrible, not going to lie, those hairs. So the first challenge, eat a tarantula. Another guy, one of our biggest mistakes was hiring a former Navy SEAL to pump the team up. As I'm in my room dying, this is the CEO with E. coli, I could hear them out there doing all their drills and yelling. So I'm in here thinking, this is terrible, but it sounds terrible out there too. And a senior product manager, we were doing army crawling on the beach. It was 100 degrees. People were passing out. People were passing out. The former Navy SEAL said, describing the former Navy SEAL, I don't think he'd ever seen quite such an unfit group. We ended the army crawl on what I guess was probably a golf course. Let's see. People's showers, water, and electricity kept going off during the day, running around delivering water bottles to the rooms. There was a heat wave that week. I was trying to put out fires all day. I wasn't hydrating. And so each afternoon I would start having these heart palpitations. They had to call an ambulance and hook me up to an EKG machine. They were like, sir, you need to slow down. You're stressing your body to the maximum. There's so many good comments here. The island has a very small airport. We're running this airlift to get people out. Small propeller planes with 8 seats trying to get more than 100 people back to the mainland before twilight hits because they don't have lighting on the runway. So it was like the last plane out of Saigon. I'm standing on the runway. Okay, let's go. Next plane. And so forth. I mean, it's just I won't bore you with more of it, but this is if you have a story like this, and if you haven't seen Corporate Retreat, I'm sure the Plex employees will enjoy it now that they're home safely, and you'll enjoy it as well. Okay, 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Verlon, Michigan.
Dan, I wish I would have bet you. Now, I'm going to remind you of the conversation. I don't remember how long it was ago, but it was when Kanye West started hanging out with Nick Fuentes. And you and Amy said it's over now because he lost his Adidas deal and he went full racist. Now, I called you and I said rappers can't be canceled. They're uncancelable. And now I thought that it was over with, too, when he admitted he had some kind of a brush with homosexuality, but I'm gonna update you. I'm gonna update you if you don't already know. He's over in Europe doing a tour. He is selling out seats at 77,000 people a stadium. He has made $33 million so far. I'm gonna reiterate,
and I expect he needs it. By the way, he's not selling out the stadiums in England because he was barred from entering.
Well, maybe not England, but I heard the report. He just did it, and he's going to these different stadiums. 77,000 people. He's selling out. He's made $33 million, and I'm gonna say again to you. Well, maybe, I'm gonna update my statement a little bit. Kanye West is not cancelable. He cannot be canceled. Not Kanye West.
Well, he can. Well, thanks for the call. I'm not saying he couldn't ever make money again. I mean, there's all kinds of people with bad taste out there that support all kinds of terrible entertainers. So that's not what I'm saying. But he's been massively diminished, as I'm sure his net worth has been. Okay, he's got a comeback story, and if he gets his head right and he has walked back some of the things he said previously, I mean, fine. It's not like I'm rooting against him, but I mean, the Kanye West that was, the meteoric rise of Kanye West came with a precipitous fall, and maybe he's getting his legs back underneath him, but he's got a long way to go, doesn't he? All right. Bill Waukegan.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. I just got back from Naples last night. And I tell you, Naples was beautiful. I was in the downtown area, had a great time.
Yeah.
Hung out with a few friends. And I tell you, and then I wake up this morning and the first thing I hear is you reading that letter or whatever that was, that article. And I tell you, I want to pack my bags and get the hell out of Dodge. It's like, what a pathetic place. I remember when I was growing up, Chicago was like the best thing in the world. And now I'm just completely just beside myself. And if I didn't have family here, I tell you, I would just go back to Florida and just hang out at Naples by the water. I tell you. So thanks for taking my call, Dan. Have a great weekend. And it's great to hear your voice again. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed Naples. Nice time to be here. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Dan, for taking my call. You're describing the guy who's like everybody else is actors, but he's the only one who isn't. Sometimes running my little campaign here, I feel like that. Sometimes I'm like, are these people for real?
Yeah,
that are coming out, that are activists. So I wish you could. I bet you've got some more stories just about how some people are just the passion behind things.
Well, I should have told you this at the outset. What happens when you become a candidate? This happens to everybody. You lose 40 IQ points right off the top. Now, fortunately, when I ran, I could afford to lose 40 IQ points, and I regained them. But I mean, that happens just everybody. So yeah,
it's wild. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's questioning anything, all that type of stuff. But it's exciting. It's kind of cool to be involved. To be asked after complaining. I don't know if I mentioned before, I feel like I was the guy at church complaining, like, you know what, we really need to do this. And then the pastor says, you're right. You are now the one who's going to do it. So I encourage anybody in Illinois, if they're thinking about it, was that you got the local county conventions, go to it, even if you can't vote, just to figure out how it works. It takes a while to turn things around, but it's just getting involved in this level. It's fun. I got my big signs, and then because actually one of your listeners did donate.
Oh, so good.
Kevin,
all right.
You're out there. Yeah, so Kevin, if you're out there, thank you very much. Kevin from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wait, what's the community again? Cedar Ridge or something like that? What is it?
Cedar Park.
Cedar Park.
Park, in Texas. The campaign is O'Brien Campaign, so OBRYAN campaign.com. Also, if you're on Facebook, it's Kevin O'Brien for Cedar Park City Council. I just got that started. Not a lot of content, but exciting. Because I'm a precinct chair, this is one of the neat things. I've got all the data for the voter data in the area on the precinct. So I know who my strong Republicans are, and you probably know this.
Yes.
How all that works, but people listening don't. I have the data. I know who the people are. But it's funny. I got one email today. What are you guys doing about this, that, and the other thing? I'm like, this is the guy that complains all the time. So I'm trying to reach out to him. Like, that's great. You're right. Now, since you're complaining, I need you to call everybody in your neighborhood. I can get this guy's address and try to help, spread the word to get the vote out. So,
all right,
It's quite an experience. I'd love to hear any of your war stories. The goofiest thing that ever happened when you're in a campaign.
Oh my goodness. Good. Go make Cedar Park great again, Kevin. Very good. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Yeah, I know I've got some stories that rival corporate retreat stories from the campaign trail. I'm so traumatized I've tried to block them out, but I'll have to think about that. David in Winnetka.
Hey, Dad. Hey, good morning. Chicago obviously was such a wonderful place at one point in time, and it's not that anymore. But rather than everybody blaming policing or even our blue leaders, who I have nothing good to say about, parents have to be held accountable for what they raised, and nothing will change until that happens. Thanks, Dad.
All right. Thanks for the call, David. Ralph in Rantoul.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hey, I'm asking you these things because you know them. I don't. I'm not part of the whole lifestyle. So when Gavin Newsom's wife killed her sister with a golf cart and didn't get prosecuted, is that called a mulligan?
Thanks for the call, Ralph. I found out about that. I didn't know that was the accident that resulted in the death of her sister. It's a terrible thing. I don't want to make light of it, but man, that Jennifer Siebel Newsom. Wow. You have to go to a place like Stanford to come out that stupid. Really. See, the problem she has, and this is why she's going to be really interesting on the campaign trail, she's got the same problem Kamala Harris has, which is that she's going to love doing all these media appearances and podcasts and stuff because she thinks that she has some very profound things to offer. And if you didn't catch it, here's some of her profundity.
I mean, I had to be very raw when we interviewed the young men who were juvenile offenders in San Quentin. I told them about my own loss, where I lost my older sister a few days before my 7th birthday, and I blamed myself for her death. And I share that because that they ultimately were accused of committing these violent crimes and sentenced for life. And I think it shocked them that this, blonde lady who was, interviewing them had a similar story, was perhaps in the wrong place at the wrong time, but wasn't punished the way they were because clearly it was an accident, but theirs was probably an accident too. So anyway, I share that just because I guess, I quite enjoy spending time with people and being real and unmasking and showing them that it's safe to unmask themselves.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. All those guys doing life in San Quentin are there because they were the wrong place, wrong time. Accidents happen to them. Not anything they did, something happened to them. Okay. By the way, text from 773, Cedar Park, I live 45 minutes away. I'll cut that guy a check only because he listens to Prof. No, thank you very much. And Kevin from Austin, thanks you in advance. Linda in Palos Heights.
Hi, Dan. I'm hoping you can answer this question. When you had the judge on earlier, or whoever it was that you were interviewing, these judges in Minneapolis that have overturned, I think, 3 now fraud cases, the Somali fraud up in Minneapolis. And is there any way these judges can be held accountable? This is taxpayer funds that they're saying, no, these people don't have to pay it back, or they're not accountable for it because I decided. Is there, like the judge that snuck the prisoner out of the back door, she was prosecuted. Is there any way these judges can be prosecuted? Because this is really an injustice to the American people and our tax dollars.
Yeah, and thanks for the call, Linda. I mean, case-by-case basis, it depends on whether or not the judge breaks the law or it does something within their judicial discretion. Of course, there are higher courts to which to which both parties can appeal a decision. But the whole judicial accountability thing, a lot of this at the state level depends on sort of the powers the governor has. For example, you've seen Ron DeSantis go after prosecutors because the governor has the power to remove prosecutors in the state of Florida. A judge is a little bit more difficult, but this is going to continue to be a conversation as you have habitual offenders that are given light sentences and go on to create more victims. These federal district court judges, as we were talking to Joshua Katz earlier in the program, who stop Trump from removing temporary protected status for a particular immigrant group, which is clearly within the president's powers as it pertains to immigration, things like that. It's a real problem. In addition to what we saw with a lawfare that was directed at Trump and so forth. So this is going to continue to be a topic of conversation. I think you're going to start seeing proposals advanced for things like lifetime tenure to be removed, and maybe some Article 3 courts to be removed altogether. Frank, Board of Trade.
Yeah, for years we hear about former presidents saying that I really wish I'd done something about Iran, but I didn't, and I regret it. That's like me saying, I wish I had stopped at one of those roadside fruit stands on my way back from Harbor Country, but I never got around to it. I regret that I didn't stop it.
Oh, thanks for the call, Frank. Okay. Mike in Beverly.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. Almost golf season. I'm looking forward to that. Just one question for you. I'm trying to figure out why we haven't seen any pictures from space that they zoom in on into the Earth and show us the Earth. It's just kind of weird that we can't see that. They can read a newspaper from a satellite, but they can't show us what's going on in Earth from the spaceship. So just wondered if you had any comments on that.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Well, they've been dealing with some problems in Artemis 2.
During the night, we tried to vent the wastewater tank that's attached to the toilet. We had problems with that due to suspected blockage, we think probably due to ice. So we directed the crew overnight to use their collapsible contingency urine devices, just like they did on flight day 1.
Yeah, so, there are priorities here. But Artemis 2 is coming back tonight. They're going to surge into the Earth's atmosphere 25,000 miles per hour. Heat outside the capsule will reach 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They'll slow down, deploy chutes, splash down tonight near San Diego if all goes according to plan, and obviously, hopefully, that it does. I did see a picture and post on X. I don't know if it was from Victor Glover, one of the astronauts themselves, but it was a picture of looking down at the Earth and with some commentary about the beauty of the Earth from that distance and so forth. So anyway, Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. These celebrities moving out of the country, I hope they're not planning on coming back. They're probably going to think they can vote by mail. So it's pretty ridiculous.
All right, Eduardo. Tom, Blue Island.
Hey, Dan, good morning. Two quick things. Yesterday you had discussed a case where a white kid got, I don't know if he was killed or beat up. I missed a little bit of the story, and it being a potential hate crime circumstance. And so for a hate crime, by definition, there has to be a motive, I'm thinking. And so we still haven't found out a motive for this scumbag that killed Sheridan Gorman. And how about Kate Steinle? That's 10 years ago. And I just, so Dan, I've asked you this before. It just seems to me that if the Supreme Court adjudicates cases between the federal government and states, I don't understand why states can't be sued by the federal government. But then, Dan, real quick, how about as akin to the Dan Propta's single segment, you have like a how to recognize an awful statement. So more guys are I feel greatly educated by the fact that I can spot an awful coming a block away, and I think it would be better if men had more experience how to stay away from these Jennifer Seabolts or whatever her name is.
Thanks for the call, Tom. By the way, there is I don't think the persons of interest, I don't think there's been any developments with the persons of interest in the killing of that vintage shop owner in Rogers Park by way of Barrington. So that's pending. Sheridan Gorman, there's some rumors, I don't think this has been confirmed yet, but there's some rumors that Venezuelan tuberculosis patient who shot and killed her, that was some sort of gang initiation killing, which may explain the randomness of it, and certainly speaks to the inhumanity, the brutality of it. Kevin on the Kennedy.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Two quick things. I would like to nominate Ralph from Rantoul to sit in for you on days when you're playing golf.
Okay.
As, he's absolutely far and away my favorite caller every single time. And what an awesome addition to the crazy woman matrix. And real quick, I was wondering if you have any updated picks for the Masters this weekend.
Well, who's the best player on tour, Kevin?
I like Fitzpatrick. I really do.
No, but I said who's the best player on tour?
Scotty Scheffler.
That's my pick. There you go. Thanks for the call, Kevin. I mean, he's 3 shots back on day one. It's like perfect position for Scotty Scheffler. Yeah. I'll ride Scotty Scheffler almost in every tournament, but yeah, I think Scotty Scheffler gets another green jacket, but we'll see. My March Madness picks down the stretch didn't work out so well, so don't trust me. Dave in Crystal Lake.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. A question on the SAVE Act. We talked a couple weeks ago on this. I looked it up, and like in these rural states, Alaska especially, they're saying that, there's so many people living out in the bush and stuff that they would have to take, a multi-day or a single full day, get on a plane to go prove that they're citizens and stuff. And that's why, like, Murkowski is voting against this. Is there any truth to that, or has Congress just said, well, we can't fix that little problem, so we're just not going to let it get passed? And go ahead.
Thanks for the call, Dave. I mean, that's what Murkowski is saying. There's truth to that. Is that a legitimate cover story to not support the SAVE Act? No. I mean, in terms of the implementation, that's all done at the state level. So I'm sure that Alaska, just like any other state with rural, disparate populations, can make accommodations as needed to ensure that voter registration is relatively straightforward, as it is pretty much everywhere, and that things like presenting a voter ID when you go to vote, I mean, you're still going to vote, or you're voting by mail under certain strictures where you have to include an ID, so on and so forth. Yeah, the whole like farmers don't have fax machines argument from Kamala Harris, that's about the level of what Lisa Murkowski is arguing. Not particularly persuasive, if you know what I mean. By the way, Kevin from Austin did get that donation from listener Craig. So, boy, look at that. We're doing a little bit of crowdfunding during the show here. Prime Minister, but you only got 15 seconds. Go.
Just a quick question. Thinking of John Daly, looking back on it, do you think you ever have seen the Tiger teeing off? Was he driving while intoxicated? Do you ever see him on TV or in person like that?
All right, PM. And Chuck from Delavan to close it out.
Hey, happy Easter to all the people who celebrate a week later, all our Orthodox friends. Hey, got put on Facebook jail last Saturday, happy Easter. And don't come up here for 14 days, because it's going to rain for the next 14 days.
Why'd you get put in, wait. Why'd you get put in Facebook jail?
They said that I didn't match their community standards.
Okay. Do you dispute that, or did you agree to the punishment?
No, they didn't. No, they just blanked me out completely.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll get back on social media and you'll survive the deluge up north of the Cheddar Curtain. Thanks, as always, Chuck, and thank you for everybody who listened and called in. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Masters. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WID.
They are willing to extend a hand to Iran. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. If Iran comes to the table in good faith, that's Vice President Vance's message before he took off this morning for Pakistan, where he will lead the U.S. talks.
If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The president has gave us some pretty clear